everyone, welcome to Kempner Canucks. My name is RevTrev, and happy Canada Day, everyone. Happy free agent frenzy as well. Today has been wild already. It has been absolutely wild, and I'm so glad that you're here with me today. We got a lot to talk about. I have a number of guests coming on today, so I am super excited. Just a reminder, I do passionate and realistic and honest Canucks content. If you wouldn't mind, would you hit the like and subscribe? You can follow me on all my socials, Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube. Just follow Kempner Canucks and you'll find all my stuff. So just big question that I want to ask the chat right away is, who do you want the Canucks to resign in free agency? And now the better question is this: who do you think the Canucks will get in free agency? Because it's going fast, everyone. It's going fast. Let's get into it down here. So we got all kinds of signings. If I have anything wrong down here, let me know. But this is what's been official so far, and it's been absolutely wild. Absolutely wild to see. There's a number of people on here that have already moved, and it's amazing. I know, when can you start talking to people? I don't get this about the NHL. When can you start talking to people, the players, about this? I'm not really sure. So wonder if it'd look better with a different color. Anyways, doesn't matter. Yeah, so hope that you are all doing well. I'm gonna change this color. I think this is better. Okay, let's try this now. Okay. No, I didn't change it. So whatever. Oh my goodness. There we go. No, we want it like that. That's what we'll do. We'll do that. We'll do that for now. Okay, everyone. Again, post in the comments who you want. We're going to talk really quickly, just in a couple minutes, and in a minute or so here. I have Mark Pry coming in from Canucks Digest. Super excited to have him. Some of the big questions today, though, are what in the world is Vancouver doing right now? Which is, the answer is absolutely nothing. And literally, okay, this is the fun part, is we've done literally nothing unless you count Jet Wu. And I don't count Jet Wu. So I'm not really sure what's going on. We are literally seeing every big name go off the board. You have Stamkos that's already gone. Actually, let's go to the big boys here. Gensel goes to Carolina for $9 million times 7 years. Reinhart to Florida. Whoops, I have Stamkos there again a second time. Let me just change that. That's hilarious. Okay, so then I have Florida here. Reinhart stays for $8.625 million times 8 years, and then Stamkos is in Nashville for 8 times 4. All right, I want to invite my friend Mark in here. Mark, welcome to the channel. Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's awesome to talk about the Canucks, even though they haven't done anything yet.
Right. I know a lot of Canuck fans are really frustrated about this. But before we dive into that, you are a part of an awesome YouTube channel called Canucks Digest. You guys have had tons of success. I'm loving what's going on there. I just want to say congratulations to you. And I know that you do a lot of hard work, and I'm excited that it's paid off. So glad that you're here, man.
Oh, thank you so much. And I love watching your lives too. I pop in and out. I know it's really late my time when you're streaming, so it's hard to get to all of them, but I try my best.
Well, that's the good thing about the internet, right? Because at the end of the day, I just watch things later.
That's a fair point.
It's like when TV changed to like PVR and DVRs. It's like, this changed my whole life. So yeah, I do. I watch a ton of stuff later, but I try to catch as much as I can. There's a lot of great Vancouver Canucks content. I think there's always room for more, right?
Oh no, definitely. Covering this team's awesome, and getting more people on board doing that's awesome as well.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, so let's talk about Vancouver here. I mean, there's not much to talk about, but are you getting worried? And at this stage, who would you like the Canucks to resign? So
see, everyone that I've said I wanted the Canucks to sign have been taken by another team, so I feel like I shouldn't say I want someone because they're going to go. But my phone's been blowing up, and it's just every other team. I mean, the Oilers are picking up wingers. We've seen Lindholm and Zadorov go to the Bruins. We're seeing Gensel go to Tampa, which is crazy. But the Canucks need to fill that right wing spot desperately, and it seems like all the biggest names are coming off the board fast.
yeah, it's wild. And if you look at these ones I just talked about before you came on, so Gensel goes for $9 million, right? 7 years. That's a long contract. But I mean, not younger, but young enough, you know.
Yeah.
Reinhart stays in. By the way, isn't the NHL and the scheduling the biggest fail ever? Because if you think of it, Game 7 happens, they're celebrating their championship. Reinhart scores the game-winning goal. He needs to sign a contract. Next thing you know, they're planning a parade. He can't even go to the parade because he's got his buddy's wedding he's at. He's negotiating a contract while he's at the wedding, and it's like, and the next day is the parade and the free agency starts next. I think they should push it back just a day or two because of this scenario. Like this, I don't even know how Florida even pulled this off.
Yeah, no, the craziest thing is too, management didn't even get to go to the parade because they were at the draft. I don't know if you felt the same way, but it felt like the finals, there was like a 7-day gap in between each game. I know the travel's a lot, but it just felt like it took a month and a half to get through that finals.
I know. And so the Reinhart deal, I'm shocked, 8.625 million times, and they can give, because it's their team, they can give the 8 years, which is awesome for him. Would you have wanted Vancouver to land Reinhart for that money?
For that money, debatably, he did score 57 goals this year, which was big. But the thing is, Tampa and Florida, these teams have no tax states, so they're going to be able to outbid teams without having to pay as much as the Canucks. They might have had been looking at the $10 million range for a guy like this.
It's wild. I know, like, yeah. Okay, so Pettersson goes for 11.6. He never scored 57 goals. It's like, if he went to open, well, I guess maybe it is open market. I don't know. Anyway, Stamkos goes to Nashville, which is wild because if we're honest, Nashville needs scoring. Like, if they need one thing, it's scoring, is it not?
Yeah, so, and they're doing a great job over there with their team now, too.
Now, it looks like to me that they not only landed Stamkos for $8 million times 4 years, but Marchessault, it looks like he's got $5.5 million for 5 years. That is one of the players. I wanted both of these guys. Like, either one, if you would have said, Trevor, we're going to land Marchessault or Stamkos in Vancouver, I'd be like, yes!
Oh, he would have fit perfectly on that wing. I would have loved that. But, of course, we can't have that now.
Okay, but here's the thing. This is the thing that the Canucks fans are frustrated with, and I get. It's like, we didn't get this guy. Like, a lot of these players, we didn't even get a sniff on these guys. And there's this new day now where it's like, how is this working? Because it's like, oh, people want to come here. Well, not today, they didn't. Today, they didn't even talk to us. Or there's no reports that we're in on Stamkos. There's no reports that we're on Marchessault. What do you feel about this kind of thing that's going on? I'm personally a little concerned.
It seems like a lot of players are like loving these like luxury towns. Vancouver's an awesome city. I've been there a bunch, but the biggest thing is I feel like a guy like Stamkos was like, hey, I can make this much more money playing in Nashville, enjoy some time with Ryan O'Reilly, go to concerts, whatever it might be. But it does seem like the Canucks are one of those teams, and the Oilers are a team like this as well, where it feels like free agents are kind of pushed away from it and they want to go to a U.S. city where taxes might be cheaper. And I feel like that's a part of the big reason as well.
Totally. And yeah, and who wouldn't want more cash? If, like, you know what I mean? I would go out. Okay, first of all, you go to Florida, the weather's amazing. Second of all, you're one of the teams. Actually, both teams have already now won Stanley Cups. And then no tax. And listen, if you're married, your wife wants to live in Florida. They do not want to live in Winnipeg. They do not want to live in Calgary or Ottawa or even Seattle, for that matter. They don't want to live there. That is a big bonus weather-wise. But California has a lot of bonus weather-wise, but their taxes are brutal. And so, man, I mean, isn't Vegas have no tax or little tax as well?
I believe so, yeah.
And
that's
Utah,
why we've
right?
seen so many players go through Vegas. It seems like they're just kind of running the mill on different guys.
Yeah, and there's a big thing about Vegas right now. They're landing someone. I'm trying to see who have you heard on what they're doing?
They're kind of all over the place. The last thing I seen was Sean Monahan to Columbus for a 5-year deal, 5.5. He was another guy, one of the Canucks down the middle, but like I said, anyone I want, it seems like. I don't want Sidney Crosby, I'll say that, and hopefully they do get him.
Sidney Crosby?
No, I'm not saying they're going to get him, but I'm saying everyone that I say I want, we don't get, so maybe I'll try to do the other thing.
That's awesome, man. Hey, everyone, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe, please do. And also hit a like and subscribe to Canucks Digest. They pump out a ton of content. And make sure that you follow Mark. He is doing a great job over there. Now, Mark, you've got a co-host now. Tell me about how that worked out, and notice that he's doing a lot of your videos as well.
Yeah, so we got Griffin, and he's a huge Canucks fan. He's from Ontario, funny enough, so we're pretty much the farthest east you can go covering the team on the West Coast. But we've just been watching the games. We got into chatting, so I got him in as a co-host, and he's been a great addition to it as well, helping cover everything, because there's a lot of news other than today.
Right? Oh, man. Well, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. I just hope that, like, I don't have all my phone stuff ready to go if Vancouver does something, so you might have to help me here. But literally looking at all these details, and it's like, I mean, like, even Edmonton is doing stuff, guys.
Oh, we got breaking news. The Canucks signed Jake DeBrusk, 7-year contract, 5.5 AAV.
There's live.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jake DeBrusk. Let's get that going here. First of all, that's great.
Yeah.
Because at least there's a winger, and I was hoping that was one of them. And I made a video on Plan B with DeBrusk. Speaking of which, I think I even have it on here still. Let's go right here. Plan B, DeBrusk. Oh, man. Maybe I'm prophetic. I'm more pathetic, probably. But there you go. Okay, I got to put all those numbers in. Finally, we do something. I should look at the chat too, because these guys are awesome people, and they would have all this stuff as well. So, yeah, Callum's on it. We got Jake DeBrusk. I like that. I like that a lot. What is it? 7 million though? Did you say?
5.5 for 7 years.
Okay.
Apparently, Derek Forbort is going to Vancouver as well.
Sorry, say that again.
Apparently, Derek Forbort is going to
Who is
Vancouver as well. He's a defenseman, so I guess that's their Ian Cole replacement. Wouldn't be able to tell you much on him, though.
Right? Oh, my goodness. There's crazy stuff going on. That's really, really cool. Because Ian Cole signs in Utah for $3.1 million.
Which is a lot of money for him, but...
Well, we paid him $3 in ours. So yeah, okay. I just got to stay focused here. Okay. First of all, I got to fix this. DeBrusk. Where is DeBrusk? There he is. Vancouver. Let's go. This is exciting. Finally. Okay, so I have to get rid of this thing now. Canucks literally have done nothing unless you count Jet Wu. What's your thoughts on Jet Wu, by the way?
Jet Wu is a strange one because it seems like he's always developing so well, and maybe like an injury kind of sets him back or just production kind of slows down. But he's a guy that's on the crisp of just breaking into the Canucks roster. I know the biggest problem is how many defensemen we do have on the team now. But I think we do see Jet Wu get up at some point this year, and I think he's going to kind of surprise a lot of people with his production and just good skating, passing. He's still physical and overall a good prospect in my eyes.
Okay, also breaking news for contract-wise. Let me just bring up this. It is Zadorov and Lindholm have been. The numbers are out now. Where did I put Boston?
That was the last team I wanted to see sign them.
Oh my goodness, it is worst case scenario. So Zadorov literally signs $5 million times 6 years. That's exactly what the Vancouver Canucks offered him, and he said no.
Yeah,
that is all the rumors that I've heard, and maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe we're only offer him 5 years, but $5 million at 6 years. That's This ticks me off.
Management seems like they're being weird this offseason, but they're getting players. Well, hopefully they continue.
Lindholm, $7.75 million times 7 years. Wow. Now, that one, I knew he was going to get more than what we were going to offer. I knew that. But wow. I mean, that's not, I mean, you left for that? Now, I guess Boston, original 6 team, it didn't seem like he wanted to stay anyways. There wasn't a real, push there. Are you upset that we lost Lindholm?
With the Lindholm, I thought he was incredible in the playoffs. The biggest thing was he seemed always like that pure rental where he'd outprice himself out of the Canucks, and obviously going to the Bruins is the worst case. But I would have liked them back. Zadorov is the one that hurts a tiny bit more, and just the fact that the Bruins stole both those guys after the Canucks traded assets for him this past year, it's hard to swallow.
Totally. Oh, and then did the Toronto Maple Leafs just land? Yeah, they did. Solaris, the goaltender from Florida, right?
And they signed OEL as well, so that makes
That's
the Canucks
insane.
and the Leafs paying them.
So that's got to be an improvement on goaltending, though.
Yeah, because it seemed like Stolarz was awesome for Florida. I mean, we've seen him in the regular season. He was dominant. The playoffs, he was a tad bit shaky, but he's the perfect 1B goalie in my eyes, I guess, behind Joseph Woll. And I'm guessing they're hoping injuries aren't a thing anymore, and both of them can play through the whole year.
Wow. This is crazy. This is crazy. How in the world they landed two? Well, they signed their goalie and then landed a goalie. What did they pay Solaris? 2.5 over 2 years?
I think it was 2.5 per year.
Does that look cheap to you?
It sounds like a cheap deal. I feel like he just wanted an opportunity to maybe start a bunch, because Joseph Woll was one of those players that was outstanding for the Leafs last year but couldn't stay healthy. So I guess Stolarz comes in hoping he takes the reign a bit or gets more extended period of time as a starter.
Wow. Yeah, so if we look at what Toronto did, $4.5 million times 6 years for Chris Tanev. That one is wild, Mark, because 34 years old, 6 years. Now, is the plan there? They're going to put him on LTIR eventually. Are they really planning that he's going to make it to 40 the way he plays? What's your thoughts on that deal?
So I know there was a lot of reports coming out from Cervelli yesterday that the league was going to put out warnings. They're going to be frowned upon if you sign these long-term deals with low cap hits just to place them on IR. I mean, Mark Giordano's a guy that's 41, won a Norris at the age of 35. So I'm guessing they're hoping whatever water's coming in Calgary in these guys playing earlier on in their careers, that it keeps them and the longevity's there. But it seems like a really high risk, high reward kind of signing in my eyes.
Right. Oh my goodness. There is so much. Oh, and Arvidsson just went to the Edmonton Oilers, $4 million times 2 years.
Apparently they're in on Jeff Skinner as well.
Okay. Well, and what's funny is Jeff Skinner has played 1,000 NHL games and never played one in the playoffs. When you hear that stat, is it just he's played on bad teams and he's a good player? Or is it like Sharif Abdul Rahim for the Vancouver Grizzlies? It's yeah, he's the best player on their team. Yeah, well, he's on Vancouver Grizzlies. I mean, go put him on a team that's good. I don't know. I'm wondering.
I feel like he's getting unlocked. I mean, Buffalo's not been a powerhouse for a couple of years, so I'll give him the benefit of doubt. He scored 30 goals, I think it was last year, 20-something. So the Canucks also just signed Danton Hyman to a 2-year deal. So that fills out center depth.
Oh, and there was a lot of people in Vancouver that was hoping to get him.
Yeah.
What do you think about I was looking at the New Jersey signing Brett Pesce, 5.5 million times 6, and he's that right-handed shot defenseman. Do you think that's a good value, or were you like kind of glad that Vancouver didn't do that?
See, I feel like the Canucks don't need that. I know the second pairing with Tyler Myers, they might need an upgrade on that in a year or two, but the biggest problem with that is OEL's contract, and well, the buyout goes up an extra $2 million next year, so they're almost working with $2 less mil than expected. So giving a guy that much money while you still have guys like Myers making $3 million, and obviously Hirona coming back for his $7 million, it's a little scary, but I feel like the Canucks could be doing a lot more and bigger fish. I mean, Jake Guentzel is one guy I was rooting for, but
Yeah, man, it's been it's been wild. I want to get your thoughts on Chandler Stevenson. What do you think about him? I feel like Canuck fans are all over the map on this. Do you think that that would be a good move for Vancouver, or is he just another guy?
I feel like he brings production. Did he win? He won a cup with Vegas, I believe. He was on
Yes.
that roster. It's just they need to either commit on his center and moving Petey to the wing, or just go full in on that wing to play with Petey. Because it's hard to say. Obviously, I think the biggest fish are going to be guys like Guentzel that's gone. Jake DeBrusk obviously comes in to take Petey's wing now. But I don't think they need to spend that much money on, say, a third-line center when you have guys like Teddy Bluger, who looked great there with Joshua, and Garland last year for a fraction of the price.
Totally. And Gary Fieldgate's in the building. He's pumped that you're here, Mark, on the stream. I know a lot of people are. I'm excited to have you here too. This is such a treat for me, honestly, to have you here. And
Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you and I get along quite well, and but it's fun to collab. It's fun to be here and enjoy this free agent frenzy together. So, okay, so I feel like I've missed those other signings by Vancouver. I haven't seen it here on it's not like coming through on Sportsnet. So what were the other two that it looks like we got two more. Someone in the chat just said Hannanen and Sherwood to Vancouver. Is that correct?
So the three they've done is Jake DeBrusk on the 7-year deal. They brought in Kiefer Sherwood on a 2-year contract, 1.5 AAV. They brought in Danton Hyman at 2.25 on a 2-year deal. So that'd be 2.25 per year. And then Forbort seems like he's trending in the direction of going to the Canucks. Wow. From what I can see, he's just a physical defenseman that can kill penalties, which is awesome.
So funny story, like, have you heard these names like rumbling around Vancouver? Because I have not.
The only one I kind of seen was some people saying Jake DeBrusk would be a good option, but it seems like all the players that were reported the Canucks were in on went instantly within the first minute and a half of free agency opening.
And it feels like we're on like plan D now.
Yeah.
Plan E. You know what I mean? Like this is wild. This is wild.
From the pickups they've made, though, I think they're good pickups. It's just not the biggest names.
Yeah. And that's okay. So here's the thing. Like, people are like, we're worse, right? Like I'll show you this graphic here. Actually, I have to bring this down first. I'll show you this graphic here on the screen here, Mark. This was before today started. This is what our team looked like, right?
Yeah.
You have Suter. You're missing the right winger or winger, whatever wing you want to get. And then the left winger on the third line is now Joshua. So we look like we need a left-handed shot defenseman, possibly a right-handed shot defenseman with Juleson, but I love Juleson. But like, this is what the team looked like minus Joshua. Like, I mean addition to Joshua. So where do you think is DeBrusk going to be, on the left wing or on the right wing?
I think they're just going to put him straight into the line with Petey and just hope to build chemistry there. It seems like giving a guy that long of a contract, they're committed to using him in the top 6, obviously, and building with them. So I'm guessing he takes that spot. Josh would take the third line left wing spot. Then if you bring a guy like Forbett in, I think he fills out the defense perfectly. And then Danton Hyman, I could see maybe taking over the top line spot instead of Pius Suter. Maybe we see him on the fourth line. But it seems like they're building the framework, and now it's just kind of grabbing those extra pieces to slide in at some point.
So what for the defenseman, what is he a left-handed shot defenseman?
I believe so. I can double check real fast. It's just rumblings around him, so I'm not sure if it's 100% going to happen yet.
Okay. And then Heinonen, where does he play?
He plays on the left wing, I believe.
Left wing. So do you think Heinonen will be like with Pettersson as well? Or do you think he's a fourth liner?
I think he'll bounce between the third and the fourth line. We might even see like maybe a guy like Dakota Joshua get the bump up to the top line. Maybe Hyman takes over the third line left wing.
So yeah, because my question is, why didn't they do more of the, for example, like why wasn't it Joshua, Pettersson, and Garland?
That's one thing I was screaming at my TV the entire playoffs was I felt like anyone you put between Joshua and Garland just produced, and it seemed like Taka just didn't want Petey to produce. I'm not sure why it didn't work, but I think it's something to look at next year if things start off slow for Pettersson again.
Well, okay, so you're yelling at the TV. I'm sitting there and we're watching this all unfold, and it's like you went and did Lindholm between those two guys. Why wouldn't you do Pettersson? I get why you're. I mean, good thing you didn't throw anything at the TV. Now, granted, TVs are a little more inexpensive nowadays. So that's good news.
But it seemed like they tried them with everyone except for Pettersson. I mean, we've seen Dakota Joshua play on the top power play. We've seen him bounce on the top line. He got Lindholm going. I thought Lindholm looked awesome during the Edmonton series, but it just seemed like they left P out to dry with just kind of the leftover line mates, which I love Höglander, but it didn't seem like he had that star power that every other line really had.
Here's a question that's come in from Toymaker. This is regarding the Toronto Maple Leafs. Do you actually think Mitch Marner's actually going to get traded?
From everything people are saying, it seems like no, and they want to work towards an extension. I'm always for giving people the benefit of the doubt, giving them the second chance. Obviously, he was invisible in the playoffs for the Leafs versus the Bruins this year, but he was a guy that was third in Selke voting just a couple seasons ago. I think it was just 2 seasons ago. It's a guy that puts up 99 points here. He's never broke 100, but he's got close to it. So getting a defensive forward that can play your penalty kill, put 100 points up, you pass the puck, is hard to look at, and I don't think the Leafs will get the value back for him, so I can't see them really making a move with him. But if it starts off slow and they go low in the standings, I think they're going to have to. But
and Personalized is saying in the chat that we are, by the way, good to see you, Personalized, that DeSmith has just re-signed with the Canucks. Have you seen any of that yet? Jeevan's asking if he's joking, so we'll see.
I heard reports that they wanted to circle back on him, but I'm not sure if they got him after. Let me see.
So Jacob is in the chat saying he's a little frustrated with Canuck fans that they're tripping that we got DeBrusk, that our forward group is good. Our forward group is good. So it was already good. It's just that we want it to be great.
Yeah.
So listen, Doug Stewart, I understand what you're saying, that I'm a Bruins fan now. Listen, I will never be a Bruins fan. Even though Zadorov, I'm in love with Zadorov, don't get me wrong. But I am not there. There is no way I'm cheering for the Boston Bruins. There's 2 teams I do not like, Calgary and Boston. And so I didn't mind that Lindholm went there, Zadorov going there. I will cheer for Zadorov. That's it. That I do that with teams that I don't like. So, Doug, I get what you're saying. But trust me, it's tempting. But no, just kidding. Do I forgive Zadorov for going to Boston? Well, I am, to be honest, and I don't know how you're feeling, Mark, but I'm honestly upset at this contract. That if the rumor is true that Vancouver gave you $5 million times 6 years. Why would you not stay in Vancouver?
It seems weird. It seems like their relationship almost crumbled a bit with negotiations. I know a lot of players hate going through this negotiation where, hey, you're not worth this much money, you're not worth that. It seemed like term was the biggest thing. So maybe the Canucks were only looking at maybe a 2 or 3 year deal. And when he got offered, obviously, the 5 to 6 year deal with the Bruins, he jumped on it. But it's one of those things where I wish he stayed. I really do. I know I try to play the devil advocate on it. I try to make people not be so upset that when he left, it wouldn't be the biggest thing. But I do think he was one of the best players for the Canucks in the playoffs, and they're going to miss that bat a lot next season.
And I think Canucks fans were convinced that we were going to, if we lost Zadorov, we were going to get Brendan Dillon. And
he's kind of New Jersey.
And even what he said, it's like, yeah, I would love to be in Vancouver, but he was on Vancouver radio. Like, what's he gonna say? Right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I hate this town and I hate this team. I mean, but at the same time, it's like, oh my goodness, man. Like, that is wild. That is wild. Okay, so is there any other big additions that you want Vancouver to do? I mean, how much money do we have left anyways with these additions? I mean, obviously all the numbers haven't been finalized.
From cap friendly, they have roughly 5.2 million left to work with. And like I said, the 2 million also from Lindholm or OEL's buyout will go on to that. So they have about 3 mil, it seems like.
And whatever they offered, she loves.
Yeah. So it seems like they have like maybe $1 million to 2 million if they squeeze things out to kind of bring in another guy, some depth pieces. But it seems like that's pretty much it on what they're doing.
So the good news is, Mark, from last season to this season, you have DeBrusk replacing Mikheyev.
Yes.
Huge win. It did not matter if it was Toffoli, Teravainen, DeBrusk. You put in any of those mid-tier free agents, that was a massive upgrade. So that is, I think that's really, really important to remember. Like, full stop, relax, everyone, kind of doing this. Yeah, I don't know. How are you feeling about that? And then do you feel like this is like we've upgraded? I mean, losing Zadorov, obviously not great, but we'll see kind of how they make the defense happen. But overall, like, are you thinking this is a huge fail by Vancouver? Or do you think?
I think it's, I kind of like it because obviously, like we've talked about Reinhart, Gensel, all these big guys, they would have took up most of this contract space. So you wouldn't have been able to bring in a guy like Jake DeBrusk and 2 depth pieces in Hyman and Shearroof. So the biggest thing is as much as it sucks not to get the big guys, I think we already have them. JT Miller, obviously. Dakota Joshua, his contract looks like an absolute steal from what we're seeing people get in a free agency right now. You still have Pettersson, JT Miller, you have Quinn Hughes. You build the team around what you have, and I think the pieces they added are great complementary pieces, but maybe not the best they could have went out and got.
Totally. And so, like, some people in here are saying, like this actually, Dell's coming in with some heat. DeBrusk replacing Mikheyev and Lindholm, not good. In theory, Dell, I think you're right. But Lindholm is a center that they either played at center and put Petey on the wing, or they put Petey at center and put Lindholm. They're both centers. They're not wingers. And so, in my opinion, we had a philosophy problem there. And what was wild about it is they actually offered Lindholm 7x7, Mark, which he ended up getting 7.75 times 7. And so it's like, what were the Canucks planning there? Because they wouldn't have been able to sign a DeBrusk or whoever. Do you think it was actually a blessing in disguise that Lindholm said no and moved on?
See, I feel like Lindholm brings different aspects of, like, obviously the defense is incredible from him. He had a really slow start after he got traded to the Canucks, but Lindholm's ceiling seems higher. It's a guy that's going to produce on every part of the ice. I mean, penalty kill, the power play, and on just the regular 5-on-5. But DeBrusk brings in something that they really need, and that's the goal scoring. I know DeBrusk is not a guy that's went out and scored 40 goals. He hasn't went out and scored 50, but he's a guy that goes into the playoffs on a rampage. He scores big goals throughout the playoffs. We've seen him make runs with this Bruins team, not the past 2 seasons, but we've seen him just kind of produce on the Bruins that aren't as offensively gifted as the Canucks. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see DeBrusk pushing that 35 to 40 goal, which I know it's a big jump in production for him, but I could see him with PD having a playmaker that's finally going to help him set him up. I could see him scoring 30, and I think that brings more value than Lindholm would on what the Canucks need.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Toymaker says we still need a scorer. So we're saying that Pettersson just got a winger, that he is the plan for a scorer. Obviously, Toymaker's not happy about that. I do also think that there's a lot of Canuck fans that are still have PTSD from Jim Benning days, so
the bad days, the dark days.
Well, I know, and it's like I don't know if you saw my tweet today, but it was someone asked a question. I think I replied to it. So I'll have to bring this up just to this one. It was a crazy question about what Bleacher Report asked, what's the best free agent signing your team has ever made? So I answered this way: Jay Beagle. No, that didn't turn out well. Mark Messier. Oh no, that didn't work. Louis Eriksson. Wait, no. The answer is Tyler Myers.
The chaos draft.
It's bad when.
Yeah.
People are asking in the chat though, why are we offering Jake 7 years? Are you upset about that length of contract? Because is he 29? Am I correct on that?
I want to say he's 28 or 29. I think the biggest thing is there's just so many teams bidding. He's 27, so you do 27. Get him for 7 years at 27, which is not bad, but I think the length is what could kind of convince him to join the Canucks over so many other teams. It seems like players are really dead set on getting a home for quite some time. I mean, we've seen Zadorov say he wanted to have a home. He wanted to stay somewhere. He didn't want to move. Max Domi's another guy that jumped around the league and he finally found a home in Toronto. So it seems like the years dropped the AAV, which is a perfect situation for teams trying to compete. So I'm fine with the years. I think the AAV is great. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it seemed a little long. What's concerning me, Mark, about going forward is all these long contracts. I kind of like that we have these free agents and all these different people. And it's like, yeah, there's going to be movement over the years. Now it just seems like this is going to be the Canucks for the next 5 to 8 years. All the same names, that's why I wanted Zadorov to sign with Vancouver, because I'm like, at least I'll get to watch him in my team's uniform for this long. Even if it was a 5-year deal, 6-year deal, I'm happy about that. But it's like, what if DeBrusk doesn't pan out?
Then you're stuck in a McCabe situation again.
Right. Or you could possibly trade him. I think he has more value than McCabe ever did. But you know what I mean? This is what I'm worried about, these long contracts. The good news is, like, the Pius Suiters, the Hoaglanders, Blugers, they have short contracts. And if you want to move off of them, you can, even though I do like those guys a lot. But I just find like this is like we're putting the core together, and you're like, DeBrusk is now part of the core. But Brock, one of the things sorry, this is a very long answer, and I know you need to go, but I'll just land here, and then I would love to get some more thoughts from you. But one of the things I was really excited about regarding Gensel possibly coming, or Stamkos, is Brock Besser might be gone. And then Gensel becomes the number one right winger, And so yeah. I'm not sure about that. I mean, what are you thinking about these long-term contracts?
See, the long-term thing is, like, obviously we know the Canucks are against the wall. It seems like every team is with the cap. The cap is rising. So the AAV is not a huge issue, but it's almost in the sense of I look at, would you rather give a guy like DeBrusk 7 years at 5.5 or 3 years at, say, 7.5, 8 million, just to entice him to join this team when you can make more money over a longer span with another team? So it's one of those things. I like having just consistent players within this lineup to grow together. But I do agree with you. If he comes in and he doesn't produce, if he falls off a bit, if he becomes a third line player that you're paying 5.5 million, it's not the end of the world with the cap rising, but it's still something we don't want Alvin to have to maybe move out another prospect, another pick to get off these contracts like we've seen with Ilya Mikheyev. And he's willing to move on from guys with picks. We've seen it. And I don't want that to consistently have to happen over a 5 to 7 year span with a bunch of players.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That is concerning to me, because right now it's like, oh, DeBrusk is a great fit. Well, that's why, at least with someone like Lindholm or Zadorov, you've already seen him in the system. So yeah, it's like, I don't know if these guys are going to be good, but we're about to find out. Duck says that he thought the Heinen and Sherwood signings were amazing. And so that's good. There's some positivity in the chat here. I did think there was going to be some people that were upset. So Todd's saying that for these three players, it's 9.25 million. So that's a good chunk. But I mean, most of it comes from DeBrusk. So yeah. Anyways, I know that we had talked about 30 minutes, Mark. I know that I have other guests coming on. I just like connecting with you, hanging out.
Yeah,
I'm so
awesome.
thankful you came on. Just let everyone know where they can find you. And I know that like this today is going to cause lots of content for you, right? So, you know.
If you want to follow me, I'm on Canucks Digest primarily as one of the hosts on that. I also do Hat Trick HQ, where we cover the entire NHL instead of just the Canucks. So if you want to go laugh at other teams' miseries on bad signings, you can check that out. And make sure to subscribe to Kempner. This is an awesome channel. I love this channel. It was a huge inspiration, actually, on the Canucks and why I wanted to cover him. So make sure to show him love while you're here. Watch the videos, subscribe to him, and do everything you can to help support him.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. And I'm a big fan of yours as well, Mark. So hope you have a good day in Newfoundland. Hopefully it's a beautiful day. We're going to be doing some fun stuff. I have 674 people in here. Everyone give Mark Canucks Digest some hype in the chat. And so glad that you came, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. See you.
Well, that was awesome, everyone. It's going to be such a fun day. If you haven't heard yet, we are doing a 3-hour stream today. That's the longest stream that I've ever done in my life. So I'm just really pumped about the guests that I have on. I'm excited about today. We're gonna have a blast. I started the stream early because there was so much going on and everything. So I'm super pumped. I'm super pumped about today. I know that today's a bit of a letdown for sure, but I didn't know how it was going to go. And then once the big names started coming off the board, I definitely didn't know what was going to happen. So yeah, it's been an interesting set of a few minutes and hours and all those kind of things. Lots of crazy stuff has gone on. But at this time, I want to invite my friend, and it's going to be friends, hopefully, Hockey Talk on the Rock. Keith, welcome to the channel, bro.
Thanks, Trev. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have you on.
Feels good to be back in the saddle here.
Right. And what I love about you and Laura, that I believe is coming on, I don't know if she's having any issues getting on or not, but she is, you guys have a great knowledge of the whole league, where I feel like I have a pretty good knowledge on my Canucks and a few other teams, but I really appreciate like your passion and everything for what's going on across the National Hockey League. Any initial thoughts before we start about today?
Well, initially going into today, like I felt extremely hopeful and optimistic, as I'm sure you did too, with the cap space and the situation of the team being successful last year, and just really wanted to see one of the big fish land in Vancouver. And obviously, like the Stamkoses and the Gensels didn't work out that way, but it's fun to have that kind of hope and look forward to a day like this instead of those are the dark days of July 1st of who can we get and are they going to really help. Hello.
Hey
Laura, good to see you.
You too.
Yeah, the dark days, that's a good one, Keith. Okay, so hockey talks on the Rock, Kempner Canucks combining forces again. I mean, I don't know if there's a better combination in the history. I'm just kidding. Now, I just had Canucks Digest on. Mark does an amazing job. He's new on the scene. His channel's exploded. Been fun to have him, but you guys know I'm huge fans of you, and we have fun together. And the amount of messaging that we go back and forth is awesome. And I just want to let you guys know I really appreciate it and appreciate you guys. Yeah, so glad to have you here. And Laura, you should tell us where you live right now.
So I live currently in Genova in Italy, but right now I'm in France.
In France?
Yeah.
Isn't that the worst place to be other than the Ukraine and Israel right now?
Well, maybe, but to be fair, I'm very close to Belgium. Like, it doesn't feel very French.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So used to be on Vancouver Island, diehard Canucks fan, now international superstar. I see what's going on. We have to take Keith and I still have to take cruises to get to where we live, but
I'm not going to judge you too hard here, Laura, but I do see football on in the background, and it shows.
Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on it,
I call it diving.
Well, it is diving. I totally agree.
Yeah. Okay. So big news in Vancouver is there is no news. And then all of a sudden we finally make a signing. I want to get your guys' thoughts on the DeBrusk signing.
You want to go first?
Yeah, you go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, the first thing, I'm not crazy about the 7 years. I think if it was 5 years at even 6 per, I'd be happier. But at the same time, the cap is going up, and realistically, 5.5 in the next few years won't be that bad, even if he's on the third line. I mean, he's a proven scorer. I was looking at his stats right now. And last year, not last year, but the year before, obviously, when he was playing with either Bergeron or Krejci, so think about that for context. He put up 65 points or 50 points in 65 games. So he can score. Last year, obviously, he was playing with either Coyle or Zaka, which if he's playing with Pettersson will be better than those two players. I really hope there's a fit with Pettersson, because if not, then it's still a bit scary. But I think he's a talk-it type of player, and he'll fit in with their system. So I don't think it's a bad signing. Just a little bit on the length is a bit concerning for me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I like the signing. I've got a little soft spot for Jake DeBrusk. I've had him in the hockey pool the last couple of years, and he can score goals. He did have a bit of a down year last year, but he's a go hard to the net type player that could complement Pettersson quite well. You could even see a world where he can maybe interchange with Dakota Joshua, second and third line. And the length of the term I don't love either, but you can see coming out of the pandemic with the cap going up that's a trend. Like we're seeing the longer years to get the AAV down and to get their guys. Like I'm still blown away that Chris Tanev is going to be with the Maple Leafs until he's 40, but they gave him the long deal to get the money down, and it's a trend league, right? So I like it. I think he'll be a good player for the Canucks. I think he'll be good on the power play. I think I think we'll be happy with DeBrusk for a few years in Vancouver.
Yeah, and I mean, you brought up Joshua and the signings the Canucks made with their own free agents. Him and Myers both look really good today, given what has happened on the market. So
yeah, it's been a very expensive day. So my question to you guys is this: I know that a lot of I just made a video lately called "The Love Affair," and we zone in on like we only want this person or we're not going to be happy. We're totally infatuated, and to me it was Gensel was the one. It's like Gensel or bust. Now for me it was Zadorov. Okay, so I full disclosure, I didn't care what happened. I knew we were going to get some kind of winger, but I wanted Zadorov. I am super disappointed that he went for the exact same money that was reported that Vancouver offered. But when it came to Gensel, I kept telling Canuck fans, you guys and girls need to think out of the box. I feel like I've been saying it for a month. So did you guys find that, like, for yourselves, it was like, you kind of fell and say, these are the players that we have to get or else it's not going to be successful? Or were you kind of more open-minded?
I'll jump in with, I actually had like a list of probably like 7 or 8 guys because, like I said at the start here, it's been a while since the Canucks have been good and had money to spend. So I was hopeful we got somebody on that list, or hopefully realistically 2. I think it was like I wanted whatever it was. Who were we talking about before? It wasn't Gensel, like Toffoli and Tanev or something.
Yeah,
like the heartfelt reunion. But yeah, the Gensel thing. I think for me and a lot of people, the belief was ramped up because of the history with the coach and the management team. Like normally as a Canucks fan, I'd be jaded and be like, oh, he's the big fish and there's no way we get him. But I don't know. I just felt like with the relationship with Tocchet and Rutherford and Alvin that it just felt more likely, you know?
Yeah, that's how I felt too. Thought it was realistic for once. You know what I mean? What do you think?
I mean, for me with Gensel, I felt like I bought into the hype until Tampa started making their moves. And then to me, it was very clear that he wasn't going to make it to free agency. Like either he would sign with Carolina or he was going to sign with Tampa. So when that started happening, I started to try to think, okay, well, maybe they can get, someone else who can fit in with the top 6 and be a bit of a point contributor for Pettersson. But I agree with you. I was more upset about Zadorov in general. And especially when it came out what he got. Yeah,
that was hard. That's basically to me, what happened was worst case scenario. Because first of all, you go to Boston, okay? You basically get like what people put in the chat, Chara 2.0, just not as good. Like he's not as good as Chara, we know that. And you go and get the exact amount of money and term apparently that we offered. It just seems like, Zadorov, you're the guy sitting in the thing saying, oh, you've priced yourself out of Vancouver. And he says, well, who said that? It's only between the agent and it's like, I thought, oh, he's coming back. His wife wants to be here, that whole thing. So I think that's what's hard for me about today.
Yeah, I agree.
But is he a third pairing defenseman to you guys? Or I think he's a second pairing defenseman. I think he's better than Susie. I could be wrong on that. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Go ahead, Laura.
I mean, I feel like on a good team, he's a third pairing defenseman.
Yeah, I felt like with him, I was a little bit wary. I know you loved him, Trev, and you brought your sign to the game and all that. But like, I felt like he really only showed his true potential like in the last 10 games of the year and then the playoffs. Like, they got him pretty early in the year, and the first couple months didn't really do a whole lot. I mean, it takes time to adjust to a city and a team and chemistry and all that stuff. My question for you, Trev, is do you think that his past relationship with Lindholm is a factor in what led them both to Boston?
Well, that's what's weird about it. It's like, really, you're both going to Boston? So my guess has to be yes. But I think that's strange too. It's like, okay, but maybe like there's all kinds of factors, right, guys? Like what your wife wants.
Yeah.
It's like maybe their wives get along really great. Maybe it's like we don't want to move to a new city and the whole thing, and like nobody talks about that enough, or maybe they're not married, maybe it's girlfriend. I don't know. I think no, Zadorov's married, so
Yeah.
I think Lindholm's married. He's older too, but that's important, and that we don't. I mean, I also think that's another reason why they go to certain areas like Florida, California. It's like I want to live in, like, even Arizona was a bad place to play hockey, but a great place to live in the way of heat and those things. Like, I know for a fact if my wife was like, do you want to move to Columbus or do you want to go to, Florida? Like, it's no brainer. My wife's not wanting to, I don't even want to go to Columbus either, but the point, bad example. Okay. But like Canada, taxes, the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's tough. Like Vegas, I wouldn't want to go live in Vegas because you're living in the desert, but at least it's hot. At least the taxes are good. And at least you can go to a bunch of cool shows, So the wife is going, that's where I want to go. And I'm like, I don't want to move to Vegas, but she does. And so next thing you know, we're moving to Vegas or whatever it is, right? So I think that's a really long-winded answer now that I've answered it for you, Keith. So yeah, apparently they wanted to hang out some more. So
in a vacuum, I guess it's kind of like Vancouver traded away Lindholm and Zadorov for Heinen and DeBrusk.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's the funny part of it. Right?
I mean, on paper, as skilled players, I hate it, but from the money that got spent on the players in those deals, I don't mind it.
Like, I felt like I almost threw up in my mouth when you said that. You know what I mean? It just sounds awful. No wonder people in the comments are so angry right now. Like, it is frustrating. It is frustrating for sure.
And like I said, I had my list of hopefuls, but my defense list was way smaller. For me, it was like Zadorov or Tanev or bust. And so the fact that they didn't get either, that's really where I'm bummed out, because they still need basically a 4 or 5 defenseman, but more realistically, like a number 4. And what are they going to do? I mean, I guess they trade, but that costs.
Yeah. I mean, for what Tanev got in Toronto, I'm happy that the Canucks didn't sign him. Just based on that term. I mean, the money's not bad, but I mean, even for 4 years, like, he's 34 now.
Mm-hmm.
And with his injury history and the way he plays, I love Tanev. He's one of my favorites, but I'm happy that they stayed away.
I know you're a Canucks station here, Trev, but as hockey talk, I want to ask you guys about Tampa Bay for a second. Do you feel like bringing in Gensel, Geekie, and Moser makes them better, and they sacrificed Sergachev, Stamkos, and Jeannot? Like, I feel like on paper, they're a worse team.
Yeah, I mean, I also think the Sergachev one is interesting because he's and Jeannot, they're both younger, right, than the players that replaced them, essentially. Like, Stamkos, okay, I think you can say, but he's Stamkos. But Gensel theoretically will produce more in the next few years than Stamkos. Okay, I can buy it. But the rest of it, I don't buy. And then when you talk about, like, the locker room and stuff too, obviously it's a very big shakeup because, I mean, I don't know about Jeannot as much, but with Sergachev and Stamkos, those are both big pieces in that room. I mean, obviously Stamkos is the captain. It doesn't get much bigger than that, but I think it's an interesting move, and it feels very Vegas-y.
Yeah, I think they got younger. They're moving early than later. You know what I mean? So it's like now, like, okay, so Sergachev made what, 8 million?
Yeah.
8 or 8.25, something like that.
Yeah, and then you're gonna pay Stamkos that in the twilight years. It's like, to me, it's like moving earlier than later, and I actually don't mind that philosophy. But you're right, Keith. They got worse on paper. Like, this team does not look as good as they did last season. And, you're moving away. I mean, a 40 goal scorer, everyone's saying, oh, Gensel's a 40 goal scorer. Yeah. He's also played with Crosby, Malkin. The thing about Gensel, this is the thing that's weird, is he's literally played with stellar players his whole career. Is he really this good?
Mm-hmm.
Because like Hyman, he's played with Matthews and McDavid.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I think Gensel's style of play is different than Hyman's. I'm not going to say that Hyman's a bad player, but Hyman has a certain skill set that he really uses to his advantage, right? Whereas Gensel, I think, is for sure more skilled. But yeah, you're right. He has played with superstars his career. I mean, mainly Crosby. But if they put him on a line with Point and Kucherov, it's not like he's going to scrubs.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I agree with you guys. I think that they're at the best, they're even, but I don't think that they're even.
Yeah, I mean, my last point I'll make is I feel like the management in Tampa is going to take a hit. Like, I feel like players are going to be a little more wary moving forward because of this. Like, it feels like if Pittsburgh said to Crosby, well, we made our best offer, so we're going to get younger. Like, can you see a situation where Pittsburgh lets Crosby just walk? Like, it feels really weird in a league where teams have always been so loyal to their legacy players and their captains. It just.
But don't you think, that Tampa's always been a bit weird with Stamkos? Because, the whole thing last time he was a free agent when he almost went to Toronto and then at the last minute he re-signed with them. It feels like they've always almost wanted to move away from him. And then at the beginning of this season, when he publicly came out and basically said, hey, I don't know what's happening next year, the whole thing was weird. I don't know. But I agree. It's a weird thing to do with a player that's captained your team to 2 Stanley Cups and has played 16 years in your city.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the logic, and a lot of NHL media has been saying this same thing. Like, what are you guys doing? Why wouldn't you just let Stamkos? It's the whole Sedin twins. Let them just sit there and have their right off to the sunset. And he's played his family does not want to move from there.
No.
You know what I mean? They not only live there, but they live there year round. And I'm really surprised to see what happened there. But I think it's just part of the business, and it is what it is. What do you guys think about the Nashville moves? People are saying, are they going to win the cup? Because they've had incredible defense. They have awesome goaltending, and they've been lacking scoring. And today they added scoring. What do you guys think about those moves with Nashville? Because if we're talking about Stamkos and Marchessault, how do you guys feel about their chances now?
I mean, for sure, they've added a lot. They've added scoring, and they've added winning. I mean, now they have 2 Conn Smythe winners on the team with O'Reilly and Marchessault. I almost feel like they're gonna have to move someone out. I was looking at their lines, and I mean, again, they've always struggled scoring, and maybe they'll just be really deep, but it feels like they have too many forwards now to me. I think the Marchessault deal is very good for his value, 5.5 for 5. He is obviously older than DeBrusk, but I think it's a good deal for him. And I mean, it's pretty crazy to think about having a team that's going to have Stamkos, O'Reilly, Yossi. That power play is going to be pretty Forsberg. They're going to have a pretty good power play. They're going to have different offensive options, which Nashville's never had, basically. I don't know if I see them winning the cup. But they're definitely improved.
Yeah, I wouldn't put my money on them to win the cup either. I think Marchessault will be an interesting case study because he struggled to be an NHL player until he went to Vegas and really embraced the misfit thing. So I'll be interested to see how he does with a different franchise myself. I don't have a lot of faith there. And it's kind of a weird thing for them because they moved out McDonough, who's a playoff warrior. And now they brought in 2 players where they're signaling going for it. So the defense is weaker. I don't know.
I thought that McDonough wanted to go back to Tampa, but I might be mistaken. I thought he requested it, but I don't know. Yeah.
Well, okay. If we had landed Stamkos and Marchessault, the Vancouver media would say we're winning the cup.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they have a goalie that I think is very, very good, just like Demko is. I mean, would you guys put Demko as the better goalie at this stage?
Based on the Vezina voting, I kind of have to.
Okay, so but it's close, right?
Yeah. Saros is a good goalie.
Now, would you? And then we have Quinn Hughes as a mega stud, but defensively, I would say they probably a little bit stronger than us now. Without, you know what I mean? And then, but we would have the Petterssons, the Bessers, the JT Millers. But man, if we had landed both of those guys, I'm telling you, people would have planned the parade.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
So I wonder if they had the structure there enough, because they had Forsberg. Who else? Who am I missing there? Who's the other star there? Is there one?
There's
Forsberg and O'Reilly, really.
O'Reilly, yeah. I mean, he's older, but he's good. Yeah, I mean, they didn't have the depth, but man, they took it to us. Like it was not an easy series.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think now, though? My only question about Nashville is: do you think they're too old?
It's possible,
because they're definitely on the brink, I would say, of being too old.
I mean, they obviously say that they got to go for it before everybody ages out. But yeah, I mean, I think the depth is the difference. The Canucks have like an established third line that Garland, Blueger, Joshua is magnificent. And like, it's always that with the Cup, right? Like Florida's third line was Lundell, Luostarinen, and Tarasenko, and they were great in the playoffs. And if you don't have a really strong third line, because the first two lines obviously get the hard matchups against the best defense on the other teams, you're not going to do it. And with Nashville, like who's on their third line?
Like Tommy Novak.
Right? Like when you pile up Stamkos and Marchessault on those top two lines with Forsberg and O'Reilly, how deep are they,
I mean, I think they are pretty deep, and now I can't remember because I did look at their lines and was trying to formulate where they would put in Marchessault and Stamkos, and I was impressed, but I obviously can't remember. But yeah.
So okay, here if we switch back to Vancouver just for a second,
sure.
And I'm kind of confused about these pickups with Heinen and who's the other person now? Sherwood. Okay, like literally know very little about these players. I know that I will do a ton of research study, but do you feel like are these guys going to be plugged into the fourth line, third line? Like where do you feel they go? Because if you look at Podkolzin and PDG, and sometimes you have to follow the money, right?
Yeah.
And so you just paid 1.5. Let's just bring this up so I'm not talking out of my right here. So these are the guys we signed here. So Heinen gets 2.5. Sherwood, 5.5 million. Whoops, my bad. But 1.5 million times 2 years, right?
Yeah.
The contracts aren't long, so they're short-term options. But do you think this pushes Podkolzin out of the picture, or PDG out of the picture, or are they just depth people?
I mean, I think for sure Heinen will be in the lineup. Some people are saying he's going to play with Brock and JT on the first line, which I hope personally it's not the case. But I think he's, again, a Tocchet style player, and he'll play on the fourth line for sure. Sherwood, I mean, he had like 30 points last year or something. He had a pretty good season as a depth guy in Nashville, ironically. But I don't know. I think it's probably competition for PDG and for Podkolzin. But if Podkolzin doesn't make it this year, like, what are they going to do with him?
My honest prediction with Heinen and Sherwood is, like, Heinen's a big boy, and they want that. But I think they bring those guys in to allow themselves to use Podkolzin and Höglander as trade chips for the defense.
Okay.
I mean, what else they got, right? Like you can say Höglander got 21 5-on-5.
Yeah, I mean, I think
value there, and he's on a cheap contract. And Podkolzin, maybe potential top 10 pick in the past. They need, we talked about it, they need a top 4 defenseman, and how else are they going to do it?
how much value do you think Podkolzin has now, though? Because he's a bit of a project at this stage.
Not much, but I mean, if you find a team who's out of it, or a rebuilding team who has a stud top 4 D-man, and you can say, okay, we'll build this deal around Höglander, we'll throw in Podkolzin, and then they can save their higher picks for the future.
I mean, I can for sure see Höglander, but I don't know. Again, maybe they can entice someone into taking Podkolzin, but I don't think they could build it around him now at this stage. But Höglander definitely has value. As you said, he scored 20 goals. He didn't play on the power play at all, so it's all even strength goals, and he's young, and as you said, he's inexpensive. So the problem that I see with moving someone like that is that's the type of player that you need on the type of contract you need if you're going to be competitive. But I get it. As you said, they don't have their cupboards are pretty empty when it comes to prospects right now.
So do you think Heinonen plays with Pettersson? Or is it
I don't think
going to
so.
stick Höglander there? Because is DeBrusk a left winger or a right winger, in your opinion?
I think he's a right winger, is he not?
I think he's a righty too, but I could be mistaken.
Because, yeah, I've seen them both. Let me just see what one of these sites say. DeBrusk is left and right, and what does he shoot naturally? He shoots left.
Okay.
So
he's probably left.
And then I believe he played left wing for Boston. The problem is Heinonen shoots left as well and is listed. Lots of people place him as the left winger, but it says left and right.
Yeah.
So interesting. I just think is Höglander is like, I love Höglander. Okay, if you've seen any of my stuff, I mean, you guys always have. But if people in the stream, 660 people here, right? So if you haven't seen any of my stuff, I'm like, I've got a fever, and the only way to the antidote for that fever is more cowbell. No, joking. Höglander is the answer. So I am a huge fan, but what I've noticed is he's really great in the bottom 6. He's not really great in the top 6, even though I want him to be. You know what I mean? 5-on-5, he scores. He's never on the power play, any of that kind of stuff. So, but does Heinonen replace him? Because if you go DeBrusk, Pettersson, Heinonen, it's like, actually, that sounds okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think how many goals did Höglander get in 13 playoff games?
0.
How many times did he get scratched, right?
Yeah.
I think his playoff performance affected things for the management quite a bit. And they're married to their idea of duos, right? Like they love Miller-Besser.
Yeah.
They want Pettersson, DeBrusk. That's Garland, Joshua, and throw whoever in the middle, right? So I think they like their duos, and I think they like the ability to maybe cycle Suter between that first and second line and put Heinen in the other spot. And like I said, it's just my gut thing, but I feel like Höglander is going to be the trade chip.
Okay. And then here's the other thing. I don't think that Suter is a winger. I think he's a center.
He is a center. Naturally.
You know what I mean? Like that's where he plays best. So are we going to see movement there? Because if you put Suter down the middle, you have JT Miller, Pettersson, Suter, and Bluger as your fourth line guy. But do you take Bluger off the line with Joshua and Garland? Like, you know what I mean? There's like,
I think that you can use the two of them interchangeably a bit, like Bluger and Suter. I mean, obviously Bluger has the chemistry with Garland and Joshua, but as Keith said, the pair is really Joshua and Garland. And Suter in between the two of them, I think, is fine too. But I mean, that depth at center is one of the Canucks' biggest strengths right now. I think it's nice to have those options. And for me, I see Suter as a center, one of the bottom two lines, personally.
I'm going to actually do the odd thing and disagree with you for once, only because in the playoffs I noticed that they really liked, like Tocchet really liked having two centers out for a lot of draws. Like I say,
Sure.
especially in the playoffs. Because in
Sure.
the playoffs, they're booting people out of the faceoff dot a lot. So I think they really like having two guys on a line who can actually win a faceoff instead of having Besser step in and lose every draw, you know?
But was that because they had Lindholm, which added a whole other level of ability?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, in the playoffs for sure. But yeah.
So Stevenson's just been reported has gone to the Kraken.
Okay.
What do you guys think about that?
Do we know what the term is?
I don't know the term, but let me just look. I might have it here. It hasn't come up on my screen yet. I'm sure it's out there. You know what I mean? You got
the Kraken are hungry for anything. They signed Montour to that crazy big deal too.
Yeah. They're trying to be competitive.
I don't know. Stevenson had a bit of a down year and kind of like regressed back to similarly to what he used to be last year, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't the same, but I think he was okay. 7 years, 6.25.
If that's true, I don't know. That's not confirmed yet. That's not confirmed. Sometimes Personalized likes to have fun in the thing. So if Personalized, please confirm this. I have this feeling it can't be that high.
Well, I mean, they talked about the top three centermen available in free agency were Lindholm, Stevenson, and who was the other one? Sorry. Like the depth for centermen available today was very small, and that's why everyone said it's no surprise Lindholm got 7.75. I don't know. Stay away from that one if I were you.
Right? Okay, no, he's right. Chandler Stevenson gets $6.25 million for 4 seasons, though. For 4 seasons. That's what Puckpedia. Puckpedia. I'm trying to switch over to Puckpedia because Cap Friendly's dying.
Yeah.
And so it's a bit of a shift and transition. So this is wild. 6.25. People are like, are you kidding me? Right?
I mean, as Pacific Northwest rivals to Vancouver, I love it. You know, I'd be happy.
Exactly. Overpay by 1,000.
So is he going to be their second line center then?
Well, for that money, he should be number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like for the Kraken too, they have a lot of the same kind of thing, right? They have players that are solid in every way, but they're not necessarily good. Like they're not excellent at one thing. So outside of maybe Beniers, who I think will be a good player, a lot of them are kind of solid NHL players, and I feel like you could describe Stevenson as that as well. But he's not elite offensively, and I don't know. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
Like I cannot believe.
Oh, so it's 4 years, not 7.
Yeah. 7. So not 4, 7. Okay, what it's saying on where am I? Puck Daddy. It's Puckpedia. Why do I keep saying Puck Daddy? Is there GoDaddy? That's right. That's website stuff. I don't know. Anyways, maybe that's why I'm getting it mixed up because they're famous. But 6.25 for 4 seasons. He's done. His last season will be 27-28. He's 30 years old.
Yeah, it's big money.
It's big money. At least the term isn't too long. It's the only thing I can say.
Yep.
But it's definitely an overpay.
And then now just came in Dumba to Dallas. So I don't know if that's a meh. I think that's kind of a meh moment, but it is something interesting. Mm-hmm. I know that people are asking if we resigned Shelovs yet. No, we offered him a contract. I'm sure they're in negotiations regarding that contract.
Yeah, they qualified him, right?
Yeah.
So last thing, I guess, before we probably got to go. You got a big list of guests, but
actually, I've made extra room for you guys. So if you have time, I'm happy to keep you for longer. But you guys choose. If we got to go, fine. But
what do you think of Shelovs not being the automatic backup? Do you think they're going to bring in a guy that they're talking about? Like it seems nonstop that it's all the chat that they want to sign a veteran backup NHL games experienced and keep Seelovs playing in the AHL. Do you think that's the good move? Do you think that's the right move? Who do you think it'll be?
Yeah, it ticks me off, honestly, because the entire fan base were good. It's like, yes, we're there. And I'm not sure like what management's doing. Obviously, I think it's not that they don't like Sheelovs. I think it's that they are concerned about Demko's injury history.
Yeah.
So it has to be that, because I mean, DeSmith is a great backup. I was shocked that like someone like Edmonton wouldn't go get him, because first of all, he's got Edmonton's number. Second of all, you know, like why isn't a team like Toronto but I mean, I think they improved. But like some of these teams is like, why wouldn't you want DeSmith? But maybe they just don't believe in him. Maybe they just say, he had a good year. I am all in on Sheelovs. I think he's going to be our future, in fact. But I could be wrong on that. That's the way I've been feeling. He just seems to rise to the occasion and goes next level. Like, how does he bring Latvia to beat the United States and they get their first ever medal, and then they make a statue of him because he won goal, you know, like, was it goalie or was it MVP of the tournament? Like, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was tournament MVP.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard someone winning tournament MVP as a third place team?
Yeah, no.
So I have this feeling he's the real deal. And I'm like, we better not get offer sheeted on him or we're messed.
I mean, I agree with you. I think he's the heir apparent to Demko. And I agree with Keith. I think that the proposal of bringing in another goalie is because of Demko's injury history and not to do with Sheelovs' play.
It's got to be, right? Because if Demko was healthy and they were confident in that, like they talk about the other two goalies that were playing in the AA after Seelovs came up, and it sounds like, you know, they were doing pretty good too. So depth-wise, if Demko was totally healthy, it'd be strange.
Yeah, and I have honestly no idea even which backup goalies are out there right now. I've paid so little attention to that market, so I can't think of who they would bring in.
Well, and they're all gone
for cheap. Yeah,
like it's DeSmith and nobody else.
And Smith went to Dallas, didn't he?
Did DeSmith go to Dallas?
Oh yes, that's right. I did hear that. So now, yeah, I mean, that's been a whirlwind this morning. So yes, he is in Dallas. That is crazy news. So he's not even up. So there's nobody else. And what they're paying for goalies is insane.
So is
Like,
it what, Cam Talbot? Cam Talbot's the only one left?
Yeah,
I thought Talbot went somewhere, but I could be mistaken too.
I didn't see if he did.
I have no idea. I have no idea.
I wouldn't want it just because he's so old now. You know, and
Yeah.
like, he wouldn't get overplayed like he did in LA, but he was an all-star the first half of the season, but then he got overplayed and he was, you know, he wasn't even getting the starts over Big Save Dave at the end of the year.
No.
Playoffs.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
Someone's saying in the chat that Brady Tkachuk got traded to the Devils, but I have a feeling like I want to make sure that's confirmed before. It might just be someone trying to get some, but I know maybe he's right. I mean, if that's the case, I don't see anything online here of that, but what do you guys think? Okay. So when Pettersson was doing his humming and hawing, and then he signs his contract, gets 11.6 million. There's that loophole because he's not old enough. He's actually not able to sign a no trade until next season. So there's a loophole. He could get traded this year. If I know that it's a big if and he's not going to probably move. Okay. But what if, would you guys be open if the Canucks traded him to Ottawa for Brady Tkachuk?
No.
Do you think that's awful, or just because of like playoff ability? I understand like eliteness, it's not there, but what do you guys think?
I would do it.
I would not do it.
Ooh, we got division in the Hockey Talk on the Rock. Tell me why, guys. Tell me why.
I mean, Brady Tkachuk has intangibles. He's a very good player. I like his style of play. I totally agree with him being elite. But that being said, he's not the skilled player that Pettersson is. He doesn't create the same way that Pettersson creates. And this team has JT Miller, which plays a similar-ish role to Brady.
Oh, good point.
And I mean, I think in some ways having the two of them would be cool. I don't buy at all into the hype that Pettersson is going to be traded. I think that this fan base has an obsession with going through players that they talk endlessly about trading, like Miller and Besser, and now it's gone to Pettersson. But I believe in Pettersson. I think he's the real deal, and I would not trade him for Brady Tkachuk.
My answer was solely based on the money. Brady Tkachuk makes $3 million less a year for his full contract. That's all I got. And I mean, playoff wise, I feel like he'd be a better playoff performer.
We'll see. I mean,
yeah, and you're right. You're right, Laura. We will see, because I think that's why fans are even entertaining this conversation, is what we saw in the playoffs, and we're like, is this the Pettersson that we're going to see? Now, everyone wants to say he was injured. Okay, I'm just telling you right now. For me, if that happens again, I'm out. I'm out. Okay. I want him traded. I don't want him around anymore. The problem is he's locked in, and we can't move him. We can't move him.
But every time in his career that he's gone like that, he has been injured. And that's where I feel like for sure there was something, personally. Anyway.
There might be. And I'm not saying there isn't. It just seems like all-star game, so on, he was not himself. So I'm hoping. I've got him in the hockey pool, guys. I need him back. Okay, so I don't know how you guys are feeling about that, but I mean, as a Vancouver organization, if he played better, we would have beaten Edmonton, right?
Yeah,
we would have been in the Western Conference Finals, and who knows? Maybe we're the ones going to the finals.
Yeah,
we could have been the ones losing to Florida.
That's right. Well, and the other thing too is we just didn't have the scoring. Like, you know, Game 7, 3-2, it's so much better than like losing to Boston 4-0, you know, but that team was beat up in 2011. But this team, yes, we had some injuries, but our guys didn't come to play. And it's like, oh, it was 3-2. Well, it was 3-0 until the very end. I mean, granted, we should have scored. If Miller didn't ring it off of Zadorov's leg, we would have tied that game up, but we didn't. The point being is, like, the game before that, we got our butts kicked in Edmonton, and we just couldn't generate good shots. So that's why I think a lot of Canuck fans were really excited about all this stuff that was going on potentially for offense. But Pettersson has to produce. You can't pay someone $11.6 million and do what he did. Like, that's just awful, right?
Well, I mean, look at Marner in Toronto.
Yeah,
it's the same story, right?
But the positive spin you could say, or I will say, is Panarin. You know, he got shredded last year for not showing up in the playoffs, and this year he had quite a good playoffs. So
yeah,
hopefully Pettersson pulls a Panarin, and I'd take that.
Yeah. I also, just one quick thing on the playoffs. For me, when I was watching those, the last, I don't know, basically the whole Edmonton series, but in particular the last couple of games, I had flashbacks to the Vegas series in the bubble, where the Canucks were kind of hanging around, but they couldn't generate. Like, they would go down the ice and they basically just dump it, and they would get one shot on net and no rebound. And for me, it was really frustrating because it felt like, you know, it's 4 years later, but we haven't really come anywhere. I know we have in the last year, especially, but it's just something that I felt was similar.
And they were doing it with the Nashville series too, you know, when they
were
shot averaging team in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I think that's why so many people were sold on Gensel.
Yeah.
You know. All right, well, let's talk. I mean, let's talk about some other teams if you have time to do that.
I just want to quickly say props to you, Laura, for getting up at 4 a.m. all the time in Italy to watch the playoffs. You're committed like no one else.
It was an intense period.
And then when they lose, you're like, I shouldn't have gotten
I
up.
know. It's very intense, either reward or disappointment. But for the Edmonton series, I was in Florida, so it wasn't as bad.
Mhm. Yeah, you're a trooper. You're a superstar in our books. So,
Thank you, guys.
okay, what do you guys think about this trade?
I think that Ottawa gave up a ton to get Chychrun, and then they gave him away for way less.
Yep.
For me, it's a win for Washington. I feel like he'll be better there than he was in Ottawa.
Yep.
Yeah, he's kind of like the contingency plan for John Carlson getting old, I guess. Washington's been kind of fascinating with Dubois coming in and Chychrun and Kemper going out, and then who they bring in to play with Lindgren? Logan Thompson from Vegas.
Logan Thompson and
Yeah,
Mangiapane.
Yeah, Mangiapane. They'll be a different looking team. I don't know if I buy them as a playoff team, but
yeah,
they've got Ovi going for the goal record and everything. You got to do what you can. I think Washington got a great deal. Ottawa needs more defensive defensemen like Nick Jensen, because they kind of had Jake Sanderson, Chychrun, and Shabbat all kind of being the same guy. But they got fleeced on that one.
Yeah, and is Chychrun really that good? Because it seems like everyone hypes that he is, but like, how many times is this the second time he's been traded?
Yeah, it's kind of like the Pierre-Luc Dubois, except obviously he didn't request the trades, but it feels a bit like it in a weird way.
Oh man, like I whenever I hear you guys talk about him, it's always like at this level, right? And it's like, if he's that good, why does he keep getting traded? Like, you know?
I mean, I don't think he was good in Ottawa. It wasn't a good fit. He was better in Arizona. I don't know what he'll be in Washington, but hopefully it's a better position for him. I mean, I feel like with what they traded, it's a good deal.
And I mean, in a similar sort of way, like Washington has Sandin and Carlson too. So is it going to be more of the same for him, where he's just one of three that are trying to do the same thing?
Yeah, it's true.
And they gave Sandin quite a bit of money in Washington too. So
they did, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear your guys' perspective on that, because I kind of feel like I'm not able to like really assess this deal. But I was like, it looks like Washington won this trade by a landslide. So, I mean, that's kind of cool. What do you guys think about what happened in Toronto today, though? So, Keith, you were saying that you wanted either Tanev or Zadorov. If you had to pick either one, Keith, would have you picked Tanev or over Zadorov if you knew that it was going to be $4.5 million times 6 years, or would you been more happy to keep Zadorov with $4.5 million times 6?
Yeah, based on the money and the term, I would have taken the Zadorov contract over the Tanev contract. You know, I wanted Tanev the most myself at that 4.5, but that was for like 3-4 years. You know, would have been ideal. Zadorov, he's younger, and it burns a bit that he took the money from Boston that apparently was offered here, and so he'll be 35 at the end of that deal. Like that's the better deal, right? Toronto taking Tanev, OEL. I don't know, Wool and Stolarz. That could be a good tandem, but I feel like OEL could be another Klingberg, where I don't know, he gets exposed in the bright lights there.
Yeah, you know, OEL is the very interesting one, I feel like, because you don't really know what he's going to be. I mean, he was way better in Florida than he ever was in Vancouver, especially like people bring up at the beginning of the season when Montour and Ekblad were both injured, and OEL kind of kept them afloat as their number one guy, which is hilarious when you saw him play in Vancouver for the last few years. I don't know. I don't know about any of it, to be honest with you. I mean, Wall, they're banking on him being their number one. They're paying him like he's their number one. It's a solid, I'd say a solid goalie tandem for $5 million, basically. But again, with Toronto, it's the same story every year because they have so much money wrapped up in a few guys. They have to try to do stuff like this. So we'll see. I mean, I would say their goaltending is better this year than it was last year. That's my gut feeling. And if their defense can stay healthy, then their defense is better. But I'm not completely sold on everything.
So is Samsonov gone?
I was just going to ask you, did Samsonov go somewhere?
So it
Is
says
Samsonov still on their team?
yeah. So it says
He's
right
UFA.
now they have Martin Jones, Matt Murray, and Samsonov all as pending UFAs.
Yeah.
So technically, right now they are no longer on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Maybe the Canucks can
So it
sign
is
him.
Wall and Store. You know what I mean?
Would you take Samsonov as a team minimum?
No, not with how he played in the playoffs.
But just as a backup, though, no?
I mean, depends on what the price is, I guess.
But okay, but didn't this signing today? That's the backup money, 2.5 million.
That's yeah. I mean, Stollers will be the backup in Toronto, or maybe they'll be like a 1A, 1B.
Well, no. It would be a 1C and a 1D, right? Like these guys, that Wall is not a 1A, right?
Well, I think
Right.
they're banking on him being their number one guy. I don't know, I don't know what he is. I haven't watched enough Toronto with him in net to really say what he is, but I mean, that's what they're moving towards, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't have given him that 3.6. I don't know even how many games he's played in the NHL. But they're giving him a bit more money, basically hoping that next year he's going to be worth more than what he's making.
Yeah, and he's only 25, right? So
Yeah.
you know
Which
that
is
this is the worst content that I can do on a Canucks channel.
I
Right?
agree.
You know,
agree.
Vancouver Canucks hate the Maple Leafs.
I agree.
I don't hate the Maple Leafs personally. I think they're fine. I don't
I don't
understand.
hate the team. I hate the media.
Well, I don't know. That I'm still trying to figure out why Canucks fans hate Leafs so much. We're not in the same division. We're not in the same conference. We only play. The only thing I can think about is it's like the cities thing. It's like Toronto likes to pretend like they're the center of Canada, and
Yeah.
Vancouver's like we're awesome too. You know what I mean? Like I
But
don't
okay.
get it.
Do you remember a few years ago, for example, when Austin Matthews first did his mustache? This is my prime example of Leafs media. It was like the front page of TSN. Austin Matthews grows a mustache. Like no one cares. Literally no one cares. But it's there. And anything they do is so overhyped. I mean, I do think the Leafs are interesting because I feel like if they were any other team, I would have a much more impartial view of what they are. But because it's so forced in your face all the time about how elite they are, it makes me dislike them.
I think it's a bit storied too. Like you got to remember that the Leafs used to be Western Conference, and in the early 90s, they did have a couple playoff battles between Toronto and Vancouver that I certainly don't remember, but I'm sure some of these diehards that hate the Leafs do, you know?
Personalized says that Oilers are looking at Samsonov.
Great. That's good. They can
Could
sign
you
him.
imagine Skinner and Samsonov? There's no way they're winning a cup. Actually, Skinner was way better in the playoffs than I thought he was going to be.
He was better, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, Game 7, he even played good in Game 7.
He was better.
So I'm just saying, like, I think I'm wrong about Skinner. I felt like he's well. I think Shilov's is better than Skinner.
No,
I
for
think
sure.
Demko's better than Skinner.
I think there's a lot of goalies better than Skinner. I think he's pretty I'd say he's average.
I think he can fill that Darcy Kemper, Aiden Hill type role where he doesn't have to be great. They just need to keep in front of him.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I so appreciate you guys. You guys are so awesome. I've got another guest coming on in a couple minutes here, but I just love chatting with you guys regarding hockey. You guys are amazing in my books, and not only that, I think you're even way better human beings. So thanks for being my friend. Thanks for coming on today. yeah, where can people find you guys?
Let's just say this is the beginning of the reunion tour. So
Yeah.
now that we finally, my life has settled down a little bit better, and Laura's still 9 hours time difference, but I think we'll be able to start to congregate our notions back in the world of YouTube and whatnot. So I'm not going to speak for both of us, but I'd like to think that we'll be able to start contributing back to the world of hockey talk again here more regularly.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm hopeful for the next season we'll be back at it.
And obviously, thank you very much for carving out this time for us today, Trev. Really appreciate it. Love the opportunity to come and talk with you and Laura and hockey, and I really do love our little group chat. You know, no matter how small or big the hockey stuff is that we're talking about, there's always responses. It's always something to look at, and I love it. So keep up the great work there, RevTrev.
Thanks. And you guys, I'm just telling you this right now. When I hang out with you, I feel like I get smarter. So when it comes to hockey, so I want to just encourage everyone in the chat, anyone who's here, 650 people here still, make sure you click like and subscribe to Hockey Talk on the Rock. I'm telling you, like, if they can get their stuff going and record and post whenever, that they have great content. It's not average, it's great. And so I love it. I listen to a lot of their stuff. So my big shout out to you guys. So appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Trev. Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
And go France and Italy, wherever you're living right now. So and stay alive. Okay.
Yeah, I will.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Peace. Okay, so I'm excited about my next guest. I just need to run to the washroom, so I'm going to do a pause here just for a second. I have an awesome thing lined up. I've got Joe Cooper from Canucks Connection coming up in just a second. But let me just put some beautiful music on. I'll be right back, everyone, with Joe. Hey everyone, thanks for being patient with me there. Man, it's been a good morning. It's been crazy. The news in Vancouver. Oh, I should turn the music off. That's kind of cool vibe though, if you ask me. But yeah, pumped about my next guest, and all the way from down the road for me. I wanted to introduce you. Joe Cooper's back in the building, everyone. Welcome, Joe. Canucks Connection.
Yes, sir. How goes it?
It's going well. It's going well. I think the longest stream I've done has been an hour and a half. And it's a lot of talking, but at the same time, it's so much fun to connect and to be so. There was so much stuff going on in the NHL and still having a conversation and all that. It's kind of dying down a bit now, like stuff flying in now. But It's been a fun day and I've enjoyed it. So, but I'm really happy to have you on. I'm a big fan of yours.
Thanks, man. I'm a big fan of yours too.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
So if you guys don't know, Joe has started a Canucks channel. It's called Canucks Connection. Make sure you go check it out. He just uploaded a video yesterday. I was the first one to hit the like button, and I was the first one to make a couple comments. So I'd love to see you guys and girls jump in there and check out his stuff.
Yeah, so far you and my wife have commented, so that's good.
It's hard to grow a channel, my friend. It's hard, and you know that. You've done lots of video work and stuff before.
I've come to realize that a lot of the tricks to getting like views on your Canucks related videos, it comes down to the actual like title of your video. If it has some sort of negative connotation to it, people really draw to it for some reason. And actually what's really funny is my biggest views so far on any of my videos I've posted on my Canucks Connection channel have been from Oiler fans, because of course they were the Canucks losing to the Oilers and then talking about how I thought the Oilers weren't going to go any further than where they did. But obviously they surprised us this year. Also, I'll say this. I mean, the Oilers came within one goal of tying the Stanley Cup Final Game 7. The Canucks came within one goal of tying the Oilers in Game 7 of Round 2. There's a lot of tangibles there. Like there's a lot of stuff you can talk about where you compare the two teams. I really think that Vancouver would have done really well had they gotten past Edmonton in the second round. I don't know necessarily they would have gotten past Florida, but it would have been really exciting to sort of see what would have happened. And I think, days like today, when you consider the options that the team had to improve, they did make some steps towards improving their team this year today. And and the biggest piece I think that we as fans forget about is depth. I think that's the biggest piece we forget about. When you look at your depth scoring on this team, picking up a player like Danton Heinen, not just scoring, but also like defense and, two-way play. Danton Heinen is going to be a really nice piece, especially because he's from, Langley. He's a Langley boy.
Oh, right.
We razz the team so much about not having any Canadians on it. And when you get a guy who's from the area, it's going to be really exciting to kind of see where they go with this. So,
yeah, too bad they didn't pick up Heinen and Dylan. But
yeah.
Dylan went and got $4 million from the New Jersey Devils. But he's the hitter. He's that presence that would have been nice to have on the back end.
Yeah.
But yeah, that you're right. Local boy, it's a big deal. That's a big deal.
It is. I think it, and it adds to the locker room brotherhood. Like this team has always been really close. And last year, I think Zadorov even, I don't know if you saw, Zadorov actually posted on social media a big thank you specifically to Vancouver. You keep in mind, he played for Calgary a lot longer than he played for Vancouver. But he said, playing in Canada is a bigger deal than most people think. and it can be a lot of fun and it can be really, really hard. But he really loved his time in Vancouver. So it's interesting when you think about, you know, the mentality of having a good locker room, and the Canucks really had that sort of brotherhood. And I think going forward, we're going to see that this year too.
Wow. Yeah, that's really important. That's the thing about Zadorov that's really frustrating is like he was a great interview, and he just like he played it like how much he didn't like Edmonton, and he didn't, you know, even like, you know, Calgary wouldn't sign me and that whole thing. And but do you think Zadorov is actually worth the money he got? Because I was okay with I have 7 years, it's 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years.
It's 6 years. I messed that up. I think I had it for Lindholm there. So the money 5 times 6. I said to everyone, the highest I go is 5 times 5, but I wouldn't mind giving an extra year. What do you think about that?
It's comparable to like what Tyler Myers signed for in Vancouver the first time when he signed that 6 times 6 year deal. You know, you're basing a value of a player off of really what he did at the end of the year. And they're hoping that he can carry that forward in Boston, right? So we all know what he's capable of. We all know the value that he does bring. Whether he's worth that much money, I mean, everybody gets overpaid on July 1st.
Yes.
You know, whether he's worth that much money or not, I think really he's going to bring some value to Boston. I'm glad. Let me just put it this way. I'm glad that Vancouver didn't pay that price to keep him, because I really think the one thing that, even though we had, you know, before all the signings today, we had, you know, almost $16 million in cap space. We didn't blow it all on big name players for the fact that they're big name players. You know, we're looking at like, we're relying on the fact that people like Elias Pettersson are going to come back and actually do something this year,
right? Compared
to last year, you know, $11.6 million is a lot to swallow, but we all know that Pettersson is worth that when he's on his game. You know, he still scored, you know, over 30 goals last year, over 30 goals the year before. The guy is going to get better because he's still young. You know, we have to keep that in mind too. The guy is going to get better, and adding a player like DeBrusk to this team, oh my God, it's going to be so awesome to watch how dynamic they can be. You know, and DeBrusk, from what I've read, DeBrusk will be really well utilized on the power play. He'll play the bumper spot, sort of kind of where Besser has been playing, which I like because, you know, Besser, you know, he's well known for his shot, but like not so much close up as he is from, say, you know, the top of the circle. So he might be better on the half wall. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of see like what they do on that power play this year, because it's got to get better, honestly. You know, they did struggle last year more than we expected them to with the players that they had. So yeah, I'm you know, overall I'm thinking Zadorov, like what he got in Boston is about right for a player of his stature. He probably could have gotten more somewhere else, but I think he chose to sign with Boston because Lindholm was going there too.
That's just so weird to me that they're like connected.
Yeah.
But like I was saying with Keith and Laura, that maybe their wives get along. You know what I mean? Maybe they're best friends. I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, but again, it could come down to the brotherhood thing, right? Like we as fans don't often take into consideration the effect having a good locker room has on a team, right? When you take a player, and I'm using this as an example only for the fact that there's a reputation there, but when you take into effect like a player like, you know, Evander Kane, who has such a negative kind of reputation with the teams he's played on. You know, you think about when he played in, you know, in Winnipeg, and there's so many different stories and speculations of like what happened there. You know, you take all that into consideration. It does affect the locker room in the end, and it's hard to push a team past that extra hurdle when there's all this sort of negative connotations associated with them. So I think it's awesome to see the Canucks banded together like they were this year. I'm really excited to see what they do this coming year because, you know, obviously they know what to expect now after going through what they went through. So it's third round or bust, I think, this year.
Yeah, yeah, and let's look at the lineup here. I've got it. We can throw it up. And here we go. I got the. By the way, I don't know if you saw this, but I was so ready, even for today. I've kept it going just in case there was some hope that we signed Zadorov. This is what I had. How cool is that? You know,
Yeah.
I think that might be my best one I've done yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but he's not back, everyone. He's actually a Bruin. I can change the colors.
You don't have to change much in the colors. You got yellow there, so
yeah. So, but here's the lineup now as it currently exists. Let me know if I've got anything wrong in this. But
yeah, you don't have Forbert.
Who is that?
Derek Forbert. They signed him today.
Okay, so is he the left-handed shot defenseman?
He's left side. Left side, yeah.
Okay,
And he's
so
6'4". He's
Okay,
32 years old. So he's going to be the new Ian Cole this year.
Okay.
With size, though. That's the difference.
It just came up on my screen now. 1 million 1 year.
Yeah. 1.5, I think.
Well, the
1.5
total is 1.5, but the cap hits 1 million. So yes, you're right. 1 million. So I don't know. Is that incentives or something as well?
Maybe signing bonus or something.
Okay. Details. All right, here. I'll click on it. It says, and he's a former Bruin. Take that, Boston.
Yes. So we've taken DeBrusk, which is a former Bruin. We've taken Forbert, which is a former Bruin.
We
Heinen, which is a former. Yeah, a little bit. I don't know about Host. Here's the thing. There's obviously a lot of what ifs of what could happen, right? Like you think about it this way, like what value did Lindholm bring to the Canucks prior to the playoffs? I mean, there was talk of them trading him.
He had 2 good games, in my opinion, like 2 good games. He was solid defensively. He was good on the faceoffs, but offensively he had 2 good games. He had 2 games that he had 2 goals, and then he did, in my opinion, very little. He was not great.
Yeah, there was talk of them trading him to acquire, you know, better value at center. So it's tough. It's tough to say that we got hosed in the deal when you have those type of things happen. That being said, I mean, there's potential for him to be a 30-goal scorer all over again. Like, you just never know. It all depends on who your coach is, who your teammates are, right. And, you know, a lot of those things. There's a lot of different things that could go right, but there's a lot of things that could go wrong, too. I mean, Zadorov could cost them the playoffs with a mistake, right? I mean, this is what he's known for, is making small mistakes that cost you, which is exactly what Tyler Myers has been known for Vancouver, too. So, if there's a lot of different if, ands, or buts that could happen. You know, I just think that there's a lot of potential when you look at everything. I do have a lot of faith in what Allvin and Rutherford are doing. And I mean, to be fair, we give Allvin and Rutherford all the credit, but also look at the amount of support staff that they have in the Canucks. They're one of the biggest front offices in all of the NHL, with the amount of people they've got doing, you know, whether it's professional scouting or amateur scouting or what have you. You know, they had a really good draft, in my opinion, based on the people they picked up, because it's a lot of high upside guys, right? And you were limited to what you can pick up based on the amount of draft picks you have. So, yeah, I think that we as Canuck fans have a lot to be sort of optimistic about. And sometimes, I mean, it's important to not get too optimistic, but, you know, at the same time, I think sometimes it's better to be optimistic than it is to be a negative Nancy, right?
I would think so too. I don't want to be a negative person. I try to be realistic, in all honesty, but this is where I'm having a hard time with this, is that I'm with you when it comes to, like, I trust in Allvin and Rutherford, but I don't blindly trust in those guys. Right. Now, they are our GMs, but they have already made mistakes. McCann was a massive mistake. In my opinion, hindsight 2020 now, Lindholm was a mistake. Now, people are going to go, well, you know, he played great in the playoffs. Yes, he had to have, or it would have been a catastrophic mistake. But it was not a good move because you did not re-sign him. You gave up a lot of assets. But people do say that even though I'm a Kuzmenko fan, Tokic did not like him. Healthy scratch for $5.5 million. So maybe it's a better deal than we're talking about because we've taken that money and we kind of made this and blah, blah, blah. What I'm trying to say, though, in a long way is that I do not think that they're going to bat 1,000.
Oh no, and nobody does. Like the thing about it is every GM makes mistakes. Even Stanley Cup winning GMs make mistakes. You have to consider the fact of how they deal with those mistakes, and the benefit here is that Alvin and Rutherford aren't afraid to correct those mistakes. So with Mikheyev, they traded him away. They didn't have to do that. I mean, they had a hard time doing it, but they still did it, and it cleared up that cap space so that they could make whatever moves they need to make. You know, I look back to in my last video, I talked a lot about thanking Jim Benning for a lot of the stuff he did for the Canucks, right? That guy never corrected his mistakes. It was like he was a narcissist or something.
Good point.
Was afraid to admit he made a mistake. Whereas these guys have no problem going, you know what, that was a mistake. Okay, let's take that left turn. And I think that's the difference. I think when you have that type of pedigree that Jim Rutherford has, I think there has to be a point where you're like, okay, we can admit we made a mistake here. Whether it was a mistake, I'll say this, whether Lindholm was a mistake or kind of a life lesson, I think that's sort of where you determine the difference. But in the end, he did add some value to the Vancouver Canucks, especially in the playoffs, which is where they needed it the most. You know, the big thing, the one big major takeaway I take from the Lindholm deal was you were paying a lot for faceoffs. That guy won a lot of faceoffs, which is important. You need that. He was like 71% in the faceoff circle in the playoffs, which is a big deal. So you think of the two-way play. You know, I think it's really important. You look at the defensive aspect of it. And so when it comes to, like, you know, the Kuzmenko thing, that's why he wasn't a top player, is because he had a really hard time playing defensive hockey. Back checking was like his biggest weakness. Great scorer though. Like, obviously number one, you know, when it comes to like goal scoring, the guy knows how to get to the right spots. So Calgary's going to benefit on that. Maybe this offseason, that's what he works on the most, is his defensive play. We'll see.
Yeah. So I think that most Canuck fans are going to say that today was a fail, which may or may not be true. We don't know. I do think, like, what they're saying is, okay, so we lose Zadorov and Lindholm, but we also lost Mikheyev, or traded away Mikheyev. So I shouldn't say lost, traded away Mikheyev. Yeah. You replaced him with Heinonen, DeBrusk, Sherwood, and is it Forbert. So that, like, to me, and that's actually my sister-in-law jumped on here, who's an Oilers fan, and I don't think she's trying to troll me, to be honest with you. I don't know where she is now on this. She says that we've downgraded, and I think that a lot of Canucks fans are going to feel that. Like, if you're looking at Twitter, I think a lot of Canucks fans are going to be frustrated. But I do believe the reason why, Joe, is because of the love affair we've had with certain players, and we didn't land them.
100%.
Like, it's the Gensel or bust thing, and it's like Gensel was never coming here. We've been built up this. We built this up too much. The media, it was driving clicks. That's really what happened there. You and I should make a video on that, by the way. It'd probably get, you know. But
I agree. I 100% agree, and I'll agree with you on that take as well. And I'll agree with you on the take that the Canucks did get technically worse, and here's why. They got worse offensively. So when it comes to scoring goals, you have a look at somebody like Lindholm, who that's what his purpose is. Obviously, that and face-offs defensively too. But you pick up somebody like you pick up somebody like DeBrusk. DeBrusk is well known for his two-way game, so he will help with scoring. He will help with the defensive play. But when you pick up somebody like Forbert, he's a PK specialist. 6'4", the guy throws his body around. He also is not going to give you any goals. Like, there's no chance in hell he's going to give you any goals. But that being said, they need to be better defensively, right? They need to keep the puck out of their own net. The depth that they added today was for the reason of keeping their puck out of the net. I also think they're relying a lot on players like, Hoglander to get better and Podkolzin to get better. Podkolzin has to get better, because if he doesn't, I think they trade him. So, there's a lot of different potential scenarios that they can go around. But I also believe, and this is one of the things I was going to say when it comes to believing in Albion and Rutherford, is, that the team that they have different scenarios laid out. Like, this is what we do in this situation. This is what we do in this situation. I think that we're always very black and white as fans. Like, we always look at things like, well, this is how it is, and if it doesn't happen, they're screwed. But that they've got like all these different scenarios in their mind. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why they picked up this goaltender, right? Like, they look at the scenario where you've got Seelovs coming up and playing a backup role. Well, they just signed a goaltender for a two-way contract, and I've already forgot. I know some people. I saw it just before I came on with you, and I've forgotten his name already. Somebody wrote it down in the chat, and that's why I'm looking for it. Crud, I've forgotten already. He played for Vegas.
Okay. Which that's good. So it's more of a Abbotsford guy.
Well, the thing about it is, yes, it's the purpose of it is to definitely play in Abbotsford. The other part of it too is, like, you wonder there was speculation that they need to pick up an extra goaltender. Well, you need to solidify that depth because injuries happen, right? Look what happened to Demko and Yuri Patera. That's right. That's who it was. Yeah. So Yuri Patera played 6 games for the Vegas Golden Knights this past season. He has a .908 save percentage for last year. So decent goalie to pick up for Abbotsford. If for whatever reason, Seelovs can't play, which, let's be honest, he can. Seelovs is a good goalie. But if for whatever reason he can't play, then the guy can play in the NHL if he needs to. They're just covering all their contingencies, like that's an important factor. And they're not overspending, they're not going nuts spending $9 million on a player who's probably worth $8 million, So I'm not blindly having faith per se. I just think that I trust that the team that they have in place are doing the right things. And I think last year showed me that that it's a warranted trust. What they did last year was not expected by anybody. And they blew it out of the water. They won the Pacific Division. Nobody expected that to happen.
So do you think with the team that we have right now, healthy, that we can win the Pacific again? Do you think we can win another round in the playoffs? Like, how are you feeling?
I still think it's early. I think they have maybe a couple more moves ahead of them. I think they might even have a trade that they might pull off at some point here, whether it's the end of the offseason or what. This management group has shown us that they're not afraid to make moves when they need to. And I mean, they do them when it's least expected to, which is the best part. I actually love that because I love being blown away by a trade. I love kind of going, what the heck? When did that? Like, nobody said anything about that. And I think that's why we didn't hear about any of these signings today until they actually happened, because they've been able to keep a tight lip on all of their dealings. And it's rare when you see that in a team. So, yeah, I just think that I don't think I can say that they can. I don't want to say that they can definitely win the Pacific Division. I think with the offensive players in their core, like Pettersson, like Miller, like, And a player like, think about like the playoffs that Connor Garland had this year. Like, he's blown me away too. I thought for sure he was going to be traded by the beginning of last year, and he became one of the most important players on the team. So yeah, I'm really interested to see what kind of I think what I'm trying to say is, like, I think what they're going to do this year different than last year is they're going to be able to keep the puck out of their net more, so they can rely on their core players to score more goals, which I'm looking forward to. So
yeah.
So whether or not they win the Pacific, I'm not sure, but I definitely think that they're gonna be in the playoffs again next year, and it's gonna be another fun season.
Yeah.
And the black seats. They're going to be black seats everywhere. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's cool. Are they finally getting cup holders like they've been asking for?
From what I've heard, they're supposed to this year.
I went to 3 games this year. It was fun. It was a great place to be. By the way, speaking of Rogers Arena, have you been seeing Celebrini's continued talk about the Vancouver Canucks? Like,
yeah, he's probably going to get told to stop doing that at some point by the San Jose Sharks, because they're in the same division, and it's going to be interesting.
I love it just because, like, I love it that he's a fan, and it's okay to say that. But I do agree. Now you're getting paid millions, or you're going to be getting paid millions by San Jose. You're the future.
Yeah, the ELC cap. Like, there's a cap that you can pay your
925, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It went up this year.
Oh,
I think it. Yeah, I saw that announcement the other day. That it went up. I didn't see the number per se, but I'm sure it's still within $1 million. But like, these kids are going from making next to nothing to all of a sudden making $1 million. It's pretty cool for somebody, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, I like a lot of the stuff that's going on in the chat here. There are people saying, like, for example, I think Japan 4 has a really valid take here. How can we say we're better? I don't think we can say. I still think we're good. We still have the core, so I'm not worried about that. I did like Drew's comment about that we got Tocchet type wingers. Heinonen is definitely, he could be the next Dakota Joshua plus.
And we still have Dakota Joshua.
Exactly. And so you got 2 more. You got the size on that. I do think we downgraded on Zadorov big time.
And again, I just say, like, the term downgraded. I think you're speaking on an offensive point of view, because defensively, I don't think we downgraded. I think we upgraded defensively.
I think that intimidation factor, hitting factor, we downgraded. If you look at his numbers, let me just bring them up so that I'm not just talking out of my here, but I just want to show you, because it's just I hear what you're saying, and I'll stick with what you're saying here. But if we go here, okay, so 35 games, like you said, he's not going to score. Okay,
who are you talking about? Forward? This is forward.
Yep.
Okay, this
is 65 block shots, 68 hits. Okay. So, but if you look at his season before that, it's 88 blocks, 106 hits in 54 games.
In 54 games.
And then you go the year before that, 100, 133. So we'll just keep it to the last 3 seasons, okay? Because, I mean, with the Kings, he was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
If he can produce those numbers, we didn't downgrade. But that was a long time ago, my friend.
It was. I think the other part you're forgetting, though, Trev, is coaching.
I agree.
Block shots comes down to coaching, man.
That's a great point.
You have a coach who focuses defensive play, who like Rick Tocchet. That's definitely going to play a huge factor in how he looks this year. And the benefit being, of course, it is just a 1-year contract. So, you play through it and see what happens. But I think look at any team. Some guys will look better on one team and then worse on another because of coaching. It all comes down to it.
And just by going with that, let's pretend like Boston doesn't have good coaching. Zadorov might not be a good fit in Boston. You know what I mean? Like, because I think the Tocchet, Adam Foote, Gonchar combo really in my opinion, Zadorov played his best hockey of his career in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And
I think he would agree.
And that's why I was so shocked that he left if the money was similar, because I think it was a bad move. It's like Carter, Anston Carter. Dumbest thing you ever did was leave Vancouver. You became irrelevant. I think he was gone within 2 years. He played 2 more years and he was done. He would have been a legend in Vancouver. It's
well, look at Alex Burrows. Look at Alex Burrows. Right. I mean, the guy came from literally nothing into being one of the best wingers the City's ever had because of the fact that that he played with them and he stayed. So it's a perfect example. I think honestly, coaching is really important, but also not just coaching, also who your line mate is, who your teammates are, who your captain is, because culture is important too. Right. And that's one of the reasons why the Canucks were who they were last year, because of culture. You've got Quinn Hughes as your captain. From what their interviews have said, they'll go to the ends of the earth for that guy. So, I think we're lucky to have the people we have on this team. And from what Donnie and Dolly have been saying on their show, that the Canucks owe Detroit a Christmas gift every year for Quinn Hughes because.
But here's the funny story. The backstory to that is that Detroit didn't just take Zadina above him. Mm-hmm. They had another guy
ranked above
and
him.
I think it was even a defenseman. Now, I've been on record that I would have taken Bouchard there. I said that from day one. And I just liked how tall he was and how physical he was and his booming shot. Yep. I was wrong. Okay, even though Bouchard had an amazing playoffs, I think Quinn Hughes is a better talent, but I don't think we could have gone wrong with either one of those. I don't know if Hughes got taken before, if the Canucks were going Bouchard next anyways, because they'll never tell you that story, and unless they're like in a book later on, like 20 years from now. But what I'm saying is that Detroit, they should send him that because they weren't ever going to pick Hughes there.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
It is wild. And you got to wonder who their amateur scouting team was and if they're still with that team, on this day. Because it was 2019, they picked up Moritz Seider, though. So that was a pretty good pickup. And I was there at the draft in 2019 in Vancouver when they picked up Seider. And everyone was like shocked when they picked Seider because Seider was ranked in the 20s that year. And they picked him I think it was 11th or something, somewhere around there. And everyone was just blown away. And even they did, Yzerman did an interview with the reporters or whatever that, just after he picked him. And they're like, well, you've shocked everybody. How do you feel about it? He's like, I don't think it's a shock. Like, we really had this guy ranked at this spot. And he's, and they were right. So maybe they had changed their scouting staff after the year that the 2018 when Quinn Hughes was picked.
Yeah, it's wild to look back on that, right? So
is Ian Clark's contract up?
I don't think it is, but
I agree.
I thought we just re-signed him.
Well, we re-signed him, I want to say a year or two ago, when there was a lot of talk that he was going to move on, and everyone was like scared, and even Demko had said in an interview, like, we got to get Ian Clark re-signed because he's the best goalie coach in the NHL.
So this is James Berkey, friend of mine, Canucks. By the way, diehard Oilers fan. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So he says the Canucks will still do very well next year. They have talent, and Tocchet knows how to utilize the people he has. I think that's a really good comment because it's what you were saying.
Yeah, it just goes back to what I was saying. Like, coaching is really important, and people want to play for Tocchet. Tocchet has a good reputation in the NHL. Mm-hmm. I think, and not just Tocchet, but also Adam Foote. Like, you look at the defensive coaching, like, we've got a really great, solid coaching staff and just head office staff in the league. And I think that's going to play a big part in people who want to play here, and also how we do in the season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I got a couple interesting comments here that I want us to jump into a little bit here. Callum says the Bruins got unloyal rentals. That's not true. That's unloyal rentals to Vancouver. They signed long-term contracts with Boston. Hopefully they can produce in Boston, but if they don't, that's a long time.
I think he means they were unloyal to Vancouver, though. Yeah.
Yes, I think so too,
means, yeah.
which is fine, but that doesn't mean they're not going to be loyal. I mean, it sounded like they wanted to, but I mean, and then Jacobs thinks that I look upset. That's hilarious. Maybe I do look upset.
Probably just tired.
What I like is conversations, and I like the pushing back and forth. So, but what I feel like is it sharpens my thoughts on, like, maybe I'm not seeing this from the right side, or there's an angle I'm not seeing. And so maybe I am coming. I don't mean to look upset. So Jacob, I do apologize if that's the case.
That's your resting thinking face.
All right. Personalized reminds us, if you're watching, to hit the like and subscribe. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. But I also
check out. I just got to plug myself. Check out my videos too. Canucks Connection, all one word. It's Trev and I we touch base on a lot of the same stuff in our videos. We just have sort of difference in opinion when it comes to certain things, and I think it's important to check out both. I think Trev's got some really awesome content, and I love supporting your channel.
Thank you. I was just going to say, people should hit the like and subscribe on your channel as well. So that's great. That's great. Okay, so if we keep looking at it, Sherwood had 234 hits last season. I did not know that. Because I've been streaming, I haven't had the time to dive in, because Sherwood, Heinonen, and Forbert are the three guys I didn't even know were on the Canucks radar. So I haven't had the moment to look into.
Well, and that's kind of the point I was trying to make. Like, the front office has done such a good job at keeping things under wraps that, like, nobody knew they were interested in Sherwood. Nobody knew they were interested in Forbert and Heinen. I had a feeling they might go in on Heinen, but and I think that's because last year during the regular season there was a lot of talk they might trade for him. But yeah, like, nobody knew, and it wasn't until they officially made the announcements, and it was one after another on Twitter that they'd done that. So it was really exciting. I kind of like that. I like that we're sort of surprised by it, because I know a lot of fans on Twitter were kind of going, "Do something already," It's tough, because I want to be one of those people, but I'm also like, oh man, I hope they don't overspend. I hope they don't pick up I hope they don't spend $9 million on Chandler Stevenson or something like that. Right?
Well, Chandler Stevenson was awful contract. Yeah. If we would have paid that much, the fan base would have lost their minds.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, because I mean, I hate to crap all over Jim Benning, but when he was our GM, those are the things that would happen. You'd be like, do something already. And then it's like, Jim Benning and the Vancouver Canucks have signed Tyler Myers to a 6-year contract worth $6 million a year. What? I remember when that happened, everyone was just like, are you kidding me? But, here we are 6 years later, and he's re-signed now for another $3 million per year for 3 years. Or 2.5, I think, or whatever. I can't remember. Anyway.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So, to me, the Canucks bring on a lot of robotic type players that seem generic for some reason. The core right now is dynamic and interesting, but their depth just seems to be so lifeless. Okay, well, here's the thing. I understand how you might feel that way, but I don't necessarily agree with that, because first of all, when your core is Quinn Hughes, Pettersson, Miller, Besser, we'll even add, it's going to be Hronek now and Demko. That's our core. Well, now you're going to have to add DeBrusk into that. That he's a core player
for
now.
7 years. Yeah,
7 years. That's your core, right? So that's not robotic. That's not lifeless. But
no, I agree.
I like that they bring other people around to support. I still think that Garland brings a lot of life to this team. I think Joshua brings a lot of life to this team. So who's robotic? and who's lifeless.
Lifeless is such a vague term too, because honestly, like you could look at, you might say somebody like Neil Zaman, is lifeless, but I think he benefits from people he plays with, right? So the value there when you consider putting somebody like Sherwood on the fourth line. Well, Sherwood was a major part of Nashville's playoffs last year. I think he's going to be a huge difference maker for the team, and he's a guy who could play on the third, fourth line and bring value on either one. So, yeah, I just think that lifeless is a pretty vague term, but I would agree with you, Trev. I think that's not the correct way I would look at this team, but.
Yeah,
fair enough. Everybody has their opinions.
Exactly. And I have no problem. You've heard me say this a million times. I have no problem that as someone has a different opinion than me or you. But you're entitled to your opinion. Please post your opinions in the comments. But I am the guy that will push back and say, okay, this is where I agree, or this is where I don't agree. And I think that just helps as healthy dialogue. I think we live in a society nowadays that literally doesn't know how to do that anymore. And so yeah, I have a real hard time with, it's like, okay, well, I want to hear your side of the story, but we don't have to agree in order to be friends. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's just a society thing that I've been noticing. So I hope that doesn't happen in our chat rooms as well, that they have to come in and say, I agree with everything that Joe's saying or everything that Trevor's saying. So.
Callum just commented asking about my channel. It's Canucks Connection, but it's all one word. They're together, like connected. It was a play on words.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I'll probably, Callum, what I'll do is I'll link in all the channels into the description here after for all the people that were on. So had Canucks Digest on this morning, and then Hockey Talk on the Rock, and then Canucks Connection. So yeah. Okay. So Shannon,
some great channels.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just fun. It's fun to connect and talk about hockey, and it's Canada Day. Like, what is weather out like now? Oh, it's gorgeous out in Nanaimo right
beautiful
now.
Beautiful and warm. Yeah, beautiful and warm. As soon as I'm done with you, I'm gonna take off this shirt and put on a little tank top and go hang out at the beach or something.
Nice. I'm doing after I'm done the stream. My wife and I are heading to Home Depot.
Oh, right.
We're buying one of those. Have you seen those misters that are on the 5-gallon pails?
Yes.
So we're buying one of those, and because my wife and my daughter really want one, so I'm buying one for them. And I'm also buying a new power washer, because the one that I have was awesome until it wasn't. So it's in still great shape, but it's like I haven't been able to use it, and it's getting dirty around here, so I have to go get something else. So
I have a good power washer, but my problem with it was the hose. I had a big giant hole in my hose, so I had to buy a new hose. Got a really great one at Costco.
Fix though.
Yeah, easy fix. Nice, cheap, easy fix.
Okay, so Shannon says, can someone in the stream, as I'm still learning about hockey and different lines on the teams, so how the lines for the Canucks are looking this year? Oh, I'm really glad you do that, because I actually have that ready to go.
There we go.
Shannon. Okay, so we got to move her comment off so that we can see it. So this is my guess at what the lines look like right now, and I'll also take off this one here. So Suter, JT Miller, and Besser, it looks like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, this is what it seems like Tocchet likes. I don't think that they might always stick here with this. Like they might kind of end up in the top line with
Miller. Yeah,
Miller. You never know.
I don't see Suter playing on Miller's line. I do see him playing. I actually see him more as a bottom six personally, because he also plays center. So somebody who can plug in for Bluger if he needs to, or even the fourth line for that matter, plug in for Amon. Amon, I could also see unless he has a great camp, I could see him actually being like a what do you not a seventh defenseman? What's the word? Where they
he's the
sit in the
healthy scratch guy.
healthy scratch guy. Yeah, it's tough because center depth is really challenging. But they did just sign somebody, Smith. I've forgotten his first name, but they signed Smith today as well as a center depth man. From what it looks like, he's going to basically challenge him on for the fourth line. That's what everyone's been saying in Twitter. So I'm very curious if that's something we see. But it's going to be really interesting. You look at how things look now versus how they look on, September, whatever the date of training camp starts. It could be a completely different team. You just never know. But yeah, I agree. Callum says at the bottom there, like that Suter is a center, not a winger. He does play wing, but I definitely see him more beneficial as a center for sure.
Yeah, so I've been saying that for a long time, that Suter is not designed to play there. If you gave me the option, I would have taken Suter off the top line and I put him at 3C. I put Bluger down at the 4. But here's the problem with that.
The history with
it's the Joshua Bluger Garland line that has great chemistry, but I don't know if the answer is because it's Bluger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a theory behind that, actually. My theory behind the Joshua Bluger Garland line is that if you look at last year, every line that Garland played on, he made better. I think it's Garland that actually has built that team, that line. So whether you play Bluger, whether you play Suter, I think either way the line will benefit because Garland's on it. He's an engine, for a line, and I think that's the big.
I think that Suter has more offensive upside than Bluger does. So
yeah.
I would actually put. I'll make a lines video here sooner than later, but I'm excited. Like when I'm looking at this roster now, I'm like, ooh, I actually like the different line combinations that Talk is going to have.
Mm-hmm. He's going to have some options, which is really cool. It's funny because like I remember looking at this team last year and going like, okay, like I'm not sure if we're going to make the playoffs. Like I was confident in the team, but I wasn't sure they were going to get the points needed to make the playoffs, and they blew me out of the water just based on the way they played especially the beginning of the year. I was like, wow, they cannot lose. It's going to be a fun season and a fun. I'm really looking forward to training camp to sort of see how like Talkett lines everybody up and gets those lines going. So yeah.
And Shannon, just a heads up, you don't have to apologize. We actually are happy to help. So bottom six, all that stuff, and you'll get it real quick. You're really smart with this kind of stuff, and I know she loves her players, and her and I are both grieving about the Zadorov thing, but it is what it is.
It's tough. The cool thing about Zadorov is he's a good team player, but also he's really good with the media, and he loves the fans here. He loves Vancouver. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's upset that he's not playing here, but like obviously you kind of have to go where like it benefits your family and things like that. So he's going to make more money playing in Boston, and it's good for his family and stuff. So I'm not mad at him for leaving. It just sucks. It's too bad.
And then Callum, I like this. This is something that I don't think Canuck fans are thinking about enough. Lecker-Mackey could definitely make this team. And
he's not alone either. There could be other players that make the team too that we don't know about.
Yeah. Lecker-Mackey, though, what's nice about him is he's got the offensive upside. So if you're saying, okay, Pettersson needs let's just go back to this. I'm going to make a video on this. I'm going to repeat myself for sure. But if you look at, let's take Suter off that top line. Okay. You put Heinen up there with Miller and Besser. Okay. But you put Lecker-Mackey with Pettersson and DeBrusk. That's a solid line.
Dangerous. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
as long as Lecker-Mackey is capable of doing what he's supposed to be capable of doing. If he's the player that we think he's going to be, I think that that's something we will eventually see at some point is him on Pettersson's wing. I think probably if he does make the team, I think we do see him more of a third line role or a fourth line role just to start. That's typically what they do with the younger players, but unless they just blow them out of the water, which, I mean, that's not impossible with Lekaramaki, but yeah, I that's definitely a possibility. I'm really excited about Lekaramaki. I really hope they don't trade him away. I really hope they don't trade Wilander away. I think that we see him probably play on the team at the end of the year after his season at Boston University is done. Yeah, it's exciting, like the possibilities. And like I said, I think the draft we had this year also brings some really interesting players into the fold. You know, just to give an example, like the one guy they picked up, it was Anthony Romani. He's an overager. So what that means is he was eligible for the draft last year, but didn't get picked up. Had an amazing season this past season for the OHL. And yeah, he's going to be somebody we should keep our eye on this year, because I think he's going to have another amazing season this year if he keeps up what he did last year. He was like the top scorer, I think, in the OHL, if I remember correctly. So
Was he the top? No, he was an overager. Who's the guy that we got? A guy who was the top goal scorer as a rookie. Was it Pettersson?
Riley Pettersson. Yeah.
A lot of people are super high on him, or maybe it was the other one. I just did a video and I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was Pettersson. I think you're right. I think he was the one that had the rookie season that was like to be like, everyone was really impressed with him. But yeah, like, and also I saw a comment earlier on, somebody had said about the Canucks drafting Swedes. Like, I think I you know, it's funny. It's really suspicious when you go with your first pick and it's a Swedish player, and you're just like, okay, Alvin, come on. But the guys they're picking up, they actually are the best player at that specific position in their opinion. So, you know, the guy they picked up this year, and I've always forgotten how to say his name, Fern something. Fernstrom, thank you. I want to say Ferndale for some reason. Fernstrom, yeah. So
while you're talking,
he played with Lekaramaki at Obero and actually Elias Pettersson as well. So like there's some recognition there. I think they can play well together. So that'll be interesting to see what they do. Yeah, Riley Pettersson.
Yeah. So there's a lot of hype about what happened there in with our draft picks. My worry is that it's after round 2, it's really a long shot for anybody to play significant games in the NHL. But we do know for a fact that there have been people like Jamie Benn, Datsuk, Zetterberg, I believe.
Datsuk was a 7th round pick, I think, wasn't he?
It was something crazy like that. So there are people who have been drafted in 5th rounds and become Shelovs was a 6th round draft pick.
That's right.
Us. So
I was there. I saw him get drafted. It was great.
Yeah.
He wasn't there though, by the way, when they drafted him. He was in Latvia.
Okay. Yeah. So in regards to the players we drafted, they sound good, but here's the problem: every draft pick sounds good.
Yes. The second guy, Parker Alkos, they picked up is a big 6'3" right shot D from Port Moody. So another local guy, which is awesome. I love those stories because you know that guy's going to want to work hard and play in the Vancouver Canucks, right? Like he's
so did Jake Virtanen. So I'm not trying to be negative Nelly here.
Well, but Jake Virtanen was drafted 9th overall, right?
Yes,
like there's a lot of pressure on a player like that. Yeah. I think the big problem with Jake Virtanen was his development. They didn't develop him properly, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. The Canucks as a team now, I think they're developing players the right way. So there's a chance Lekaramaki, for example, doesn't make the team because they're trying to let him cook in the AHL. They want him to be the best player in the AHL first before they, put him on the big boys team. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least. But there's a lot of upside to each of these each of these picks. The only one I don't know anything about, which I think everyone agrees with, is Sansonen's, because even the commentators, when it happened, were like, I don't know anything about this guy.
Oh, and,
So-
and I did my video on it, and there's literally no information.
Yeah, I'm curious who scouted him, who their scout is that picked that.
But
scouted him.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, me too.
What blows me away is most people didn't even have them on their board.
Yeah.
Like even elite prospects never even had them in the, like they have them in the system, but you should see what it says. It's like,
Well,
it's
that's why I say, like, I'm surprised. Like, I'm wondering who scouted him, because like they must have some sort of insider knowledge about the guy, right?
he's related to someone that's got to be. No, just joking.
Maybe, yeah, really.
That's so funny, man. Okay, so was it Toymaker that said every single free agent now has been signed? That's what
I don't think that's actually true, but
I don't know,
because there's
maybe only the ones that we care about.
Maybe the big names, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's no one else that we're like, oh, where does he go? Like, so what's going to happen in the next couple of days? You know, there's always some signings that happen, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, and there's lots. I mean, you could probably go on to I think it was Cap Friendly. I know Cap Friendly shows all the free agents available.
Yeah.
You could go on to Cap Friendly and say, like, you know, who's left, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I need to, like, for me, I need to start moving over. Like I've been Puckpedia now because he's dying or being bought out. So there
on
is
Friday
a
it's done.
spot. There is a spot. I know, and it's been so easy to navigate. So I'm hoping that it's not too bad with me. Oh, by the way, have we heard where Declare went today?
Declare? Yes, he went to New York Islanders.
Okay, I didn't have that one yet. And where did Skinner go?
I just happen to be looking at Cap Friendly. Oops,
Does anyone know where Skinner went?
Skinner has not yet signed. Yeah, I don't see Skinner's name here.
Okay, interesting.
So here's an interesting fact about today's signings. There's been 101 signings, 248 contract years total, $247 million in cap hit, almost $248 million in cap hit, $900 million in contract dollars. That's crazy. But that's how it is. That's what happens when the cap goes up. It's kind of exciting. Like I said, I smile when I think about this because it's like teams go nuts. But yeah, it's
yeah, and I don't mind overpaying for, like, here's the thing about what I don't mind at all, Joe, is okay, so I don't mind overpaying a bit because you didn't give up any assets.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where you fix your problems, supposed to fix your problems, right? So I'm actually quite happy with spending a few extra dollars, and I didn't give up any of my prospects, and I didn't give up any of my first and second round picks, because everyone's like, well, I want Natius, which we still might trade for. We don't know. But it's like, at the end of the day, what do you have to give up for him? And he's asking for $7+ million. Like, what is Carolina going to pay this guy now? He's an RFA. You know?
Yeah, it's and from what I've understood, they haven't even discussed anything contract wise. So obviously, like, there's something. I think they're trying to trade him. I think more than anything, that's what's happening. But yeah, I agree. I think that I'm always okay with spending an extra few bucks for a player that does make a difference on your team. But it also depends on how much that few bucks is. Like, if we're talking, like, you know, like I said, $9 million for a $7 million player, that's a bit too much in my books. I think that, you know, you should probably look more like,
well, this one.
Look at the next
one. Exactly.
I
wouldn't do this one.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
what about Lindholm? Is Lindholm a value for you? Like at $7.25 million?
Totally, because he wanted $9 million. Now I'm glad that we didn't spend that.
Me too.
I mean, even what's his name, DeBrusk. I know people don't like how long the contract is, but I like.
He's 27 years old. He's 27 years old. When that contract is up, he'll be like 30. What is that? Let me do math now. 34. Yeah, like, I'm sorry, that's perfectly fine by me.
Yeah.
At
so
that age, he'll still be playing at 34 too.
Yes, and so what I like about it is the 5.5, and you didn't put 7.75.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
I mean, I guess it means that you can't get the Sherwoods and it's like, okay,
But also,
cool.
you have to consider the fact that 27, he's only really just getting to his like, he's still got a few years even before hitting his peak as a player. Like, he could be better this year because he's playing in a Canadian market, because he's playing for a coach like Rick Tocchet, because he's playing with, Elias Pettersson or whoever he actually lines up with. Like, I think there's a lot of upside to signing a player like DeBrusk at 27 years old.
The only thing I'll push back on that, even though you're right, is he played with Pasternak.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's downgrading.
And he scored a lot. And he scored a lot. In fact, he might make Pettersson better.
Yes.
You never know.
I mean, that's the point. Why would you sign him? That's the plan, right?
Yeah.
Now,
I think
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think any other team or any other fans of another team are saying, like, we would take that contract any day, because I know the Oilers wanted him. I know that Calgary wanted him. Those are two teams. I think Winnipeg wanted him too, if I remember correctly. So there's a lot of teams that actually really wanted him.
On Canada Day, we hose the other Canadian teams.
I mean, you got to look at it somehow, right? What about the Leafs, right? The Leafs picking up, the Leafs picking up OEL. Like, that's blew me away. I was like, really? You guys wanted OEL? Okay. All right.
Well, one of my closest friends is a Leafs fan, and he sent me a message the other day. I'm so pumped to get Zadorov in Toronto. I'm like, he's not leaving Vancouver, and he's like, yeah, don't be so sure. And he was right. But what's hilarious is not only did they not get Zadorov, he went to Boston, who's gonna pummel them. Yeah. I mean, I hope there's a Ryan Reeves Zadorov fight in the future. You know what I mean? But
I wonder. Yeah.
But I do think the Tanev deal is good, except the length is awful. Unless he goes on LTIR, then it's fine. But the OEL one is wild to think about. Like,
it is. It was 4 years.
Yeah,
4 years at $3.5 million. He's
how old is he?
He's definitely in his 30s. Yeah, he's in his 30s. I can't remember, but yeah, it's baffling to me. But I also have some friends who are diehard Leaf fans, and I asked them about the signing of Liljegren, because Liljegren signed a 2-year, $6 million contract.
$3 million, yeah.
And I was like, "Do you guys like that?" And they're like, "Nope, none of them like it."
And it was just a re-signing, right?
Yeah.
25 years old, though. That's the thing that they're doing there.
Yeah.
Ekman Larson
There's
is
still
32.
potential. Yeah,
32. So he's gonna be 36 when he's done that contract.
Yeah.
Tanev's gonna be 40 when he's done his contract.
I noticed. I was gonna say you did put it there. Never mind.
Morgan Riley's gonna be 30 when he's done, 34 when he's done his contract. So, like, this is a very old defensive core. I mean, Giordano just finished. He's 40 years old. He's not back with the team. Like, I guess technically, I don't think they got younger.
No, they definitely didn't get younger. And also, I was just going to look. They still have, let's see. So they still have $705,000 left of cap room, and they have yet to sign Mitch Marner to a new contract. He still has one more year this year on his contract, but they still have yet to resign.
Do you think Mitch Marner gets a raise?
Yeah, no, probably not.
He's making 10.9.
I'll tell you what, he gets a raise if he plays somewhere else. That's my sheer guess. If they find a way to trade him, whatever team picks him up is going to re-sign him, probably right away, and it'll be something like $11 million or something ridiculous. It's gonna be dumb, because I don't think he's worth $10 million personally. Like, he's a good player, but at his stature and like what he brings defensively, I don't see the value there. I mean, he's being paid to score goals.
It's the points.
Yeah.
So he's like, isn't he like 100-point player? And that's what they make.
Yeah.
So
It's dumb because there's so much more value, and I think this is what I like about having like Rick Tocchet as our coach, because there's more value in his eyes to a defensive team than there is an offensive team. Rick Tocchet has a lot of input as to who they're picking up. Like there's a such thing as a Rick Tocchet type player, and that's what I like about having a coach like this. It doesn't influence the team to go and pay $10 million to a guy who's just going to score goals. And like I said, sadly, that's the reason why. Oh my God, brain fart. Who did we trade to Calgary?
Well, we traded Kuzmenko, yeah.
Why Kuzmenko's not on the team anymore? Because he just unfortunately didn't bring it defensively. So
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So it's been an interesting day for sure. I think there are a mixture of emotions when it comes to Canuck fans, and I do think the negative narrative will continue to reign, because just looking on paper, it looks like that. But then you get people like my friend John Mountain, who says, we will love Sherwood. Check out his videos, feisty player and fights. I am going to definitely, John, be checking out his stuff, because
he's right. He's right. We will.
I cannot wait to do a deep dive on him, and I'm looking forward to it. But I think it's been a great season. It's been super fun, but at the same time, like Joe has been mentioning to us, Alvin and Rutherford have been in this for a long time, especially Rutherford. They know what they're doing, and what I did like is they held firm that they didn't want to overpay.
That's right. Yeah, and you have to keep in mind too, as fans, like the off season doesn't end on July 1st. Like there is still so much more stuff they can do between now and the beginning of the season, and I'm including the preseason there, because like trades happen, moves happen, people get picked up, PTOs happen. Like there's all sorts of different things that can happen that can make this team better. So yes, July 1st, maybe they didn't get better offensively, but defensively we definitely got better, and I'm excited for not having as many goals scored on Demko this year. That's my prediction.
Yeah, that'll be great if that happens. I mean, that's worth a lot of money in my opinion. So
100%.
Yeah. So, all right, Joe, I know that you've got stuff to do today and you want to get out in that beautiful sun, but I just want to thank you so much for being here. And I really appreciate you. I think you're not only a great guy, but a great guy to have on the show. And I appreciate your time. Man.
Yeah, you too. Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. And make sure you guys give a thumbs up, like and subscribe if you haven't already to this channel, and check out mine, please, and let me know what you guys think. All the comments are awesome. My favorite part is the Oilers commenting on all my videos, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's so much fun.
And the problem is they can say whatever they want because they went farther than us this year. But
100%. But in the end, like you say, it's important to be realistic, and I'm not going to sit here and tell Oilers fans that my team's better than them. But I did have my opinions on how they would do in the playoffs. I was slightly wrong. Mm-hmm. I did say they wouldn't win, but in the end, I didn't think they would also make it to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. So good on them.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
Canucks are next.
Right. Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, my friend.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Great rest of your day.
You too. Take care.
All right, so just got a few more minutes left, everyone. I actually have something really fun planned. Even though I don't have another guest with me for the last few minutes, I actually have something that's going to be very, in my opinion, interactive with each guest. Or no, sorry, for the chat. Each one of you that's here, I really need your feedback and comments. So I'm just going to quickly run to the washroom. I'll be right back. By the way, Shannon, you asked the question, did I wash my hands? Of course, I always do. I guess that's what Canuck Clay asks. Of course I do. That's what you're supposed to do. And if COVID taught us anything, wash your hands. So I'll be right back, everyone. But I've got some interactive stuff for you that are in the chat. 648 people here right now. A whole bunch of people in the chat. We've just got a few minutes left, 20 minutes left. And let me just run to the washroom, and then we're going to get into that. I think you guys and girls are going to really, really enjoy it. I'll be right back. Hey everyone, thanks for being patient here. Appreciate you being here. And okay, so let's dive into the last few minutes of this. Need some fan interaction, so follower interaction, I should say. But Canuck Tony asks how many people are generally signed to the big club, and 23 is the answer. So yeah, so there'll be some people that will be playing up and some people playing down. So yeah. Thanks, John, for the feedback. Great stuff. I was jaded this morning and really wanted Dylan and DeBrusk signing Dylan, but DeBrusk signing made me a bit happier. Yep. Yeah, it's going to be something we're going to have to think about. So, and then also our boy Anthony Beauvillier to Pittsburgh. Thank you, personalized. Yeah. Grogu's watching your personal hygiene. That's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. Okay, let's dive in to the last thing. So, okay. Jeevan, Rev, we play your favorite team for the season opener. What? Calgary? It's my least favorite team. Are we playing the Flames? Or is it going to be Boston? So interesting. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I want to show you guys this. This is what I'm going to need. So I've done these graphics, and it's and I want your impact. Post it in the comments, okay? And I'll take down this. Actually, I'll keep that going. Basically what it comes down to, it's your favorite Canucks, okay? Not just like who's your favorite Canuck. You all know that my favorite Canuck is Pavel Bure, right? So great in my opinion, the greatest Canuck we've ever had. By the way, I've just gone, because I started early, I've just gone over 3 hours. Really pumped to be with you, but I want to finish this off with these things. So it's your favorite forwards. So I'm doing my top 5 favorite defense, favorite goalies, and favorite fan favorites. Okay. So I'm going to show you, and so we're going to start with forwards. So don't do any others other than forwards. Okay. So post in the comments. We'll see if this looks okay. Your favorite forwards. Okay. So who's your favorite Canuck forwards? I know this is a tough question, and there's no right or wrong answers for you. Whatever you post in the comments. So I have my number 1 forward, of course, is going to be Pavel Bure, because he's my number 1 of all time Canuck player. So Pavel Bure is my number 1 forward. With Todd Bertuzzi, I think, is my second favorite. I mean, after Pavel, it's really hard. I think any of these guys could be interchanged at any of these spots. But right now, I'm just landing at Todd Bertuzzi. Loved watching him play. And then number 3, I put in Marcus Naslund. Loved watching his wrist shot, elite skill level. And then our boy, JT Miller, as number 4. And the Sedin twins I have as number 5. Again, really, after 1, any one of these people could be 2 to 5. So post in the comments what your favorite Canuck forward is. And I'm going to bring down this so that I can put up comments in there. Okay, so one guy, though, yep. By the way, I'll just bring this down for a second just so I can talk to you guys and girls about this. When I put people on these lists, I have 4 lists. When I put them on there, I never put them again on a list again. So nobody will be duplicated. There's so many great Canucks over the years that I want to do it. So let me just go back to here. Okay. So your guys' answers are, you can put as many as you like. Do a top 5, but we'll do something. Okay, sorry. Let's just see. So Kuzmenko could have been the next Bure. Yeah, I don't think so, but he is similar. So Callum says Todd Bertuzzi. Monty is a big Trevor Linden fan. I know that. Stuart Baker says JT Miller. Yeah, JT Miller is his favorite as well. Jeevan says Hendrik Sedin. Canuck Tony says Bure, Miller, Burt, Linden, Kessler. That's a good lineup as well. Callum's got his second one in. He's got Mogilny. Jeevan also says the other twin, which is Daniel. He's frustrated to me because I don't have Kessler on there. Shannon says number 1 for her is the Sedin twins. Number 2 is JT Miller. I like it. Number 3 for her is Linden. Number 4 is Naslund. And I'll see what her number 5 is in just a second. So let's go to personalized. Top 5 favorite Canuck forwards: Bure, Linden, Marcus Naslund, Alex Burrows, and JT Miller. That's a good one as well. Let's see what else people have. Daniel, he has Bure, Bertuzzi, Linden, Miller, and Ronning. Cliff Ronning. That's right. Another guy I forgot about, but I wouldn't have him on my list, but I'm glad you do as well. Monty, you got to stick with forwards. So just go forwards on this one, and then we're going to get to defensemen and goalies soon. So Tony says Patrick Sundstrom. Whoa, that's a blast from the past. Callum says Tony Tanti. That's pretty cool. Pavel Demitra and Manny Malhotra. You can put those guys. Maybe you would put those guys as some of your fan favorites, but you're welcome to have them as your favorite forwards too. So Jeevan says Sedin twins, Pettersson, Kessler, Burrows, Miller. And then Callum is coming in: Bure, McGillney, Linden, Bertuzzi, JT Miller, And Shannon's going to say Kessler is her number 5. Okay, so I've got some more here. I want to show you guys. So maybe for this next one, what you can do is post all 5. Okay, so we're going to go into defenseman next. I'll talk about my defenseman. While I'm doing that, start typing out your top 5 defensemen. Okay, it's a little more difficult with defensemen, I find, than it is with every other category, but let's go into it. So these are my top 5, and I want to ask the question, who's your favorite Canuck defense top 5? Okay, I know it's a tough question, but here are mine. Number 1 is Quinn Hughes. I think he's the most talented Canucks defenseman we've ever seen, and will be for a long time. Also winning the Norris, putting up the points that he does, just the dynamic edge work that he has. I think it's a no-brainer, no problem. Quinn Hughes is the man. Number 2 is Ed Jovanovski, and I love watching him play, and I think I even spelled his name wrong now that I look at it, which is embarrassing if I did. Ed Jovan. Yeah, I did spell it wrong. It's Jovanovski, not Jovovsky, because they called him Jovo, right? Loved his hitting, loved his offensive play. He turned the puck over every once in a while really brutally, but loved his compete. Kevin Bieksa is my next guy on that. Just loved his fighting ability, his grit, his tenacity. Loved that he scored the game winner against the San Jose Sharks. Then Matthias Ohlund, loved his longevity, played consistently for us for a very, very long time. Could do it all, really. Could score on the power play. Could also play penalty kill. Played massive minutes for us. And then number 5, Jyrki Lumme was a very good Canuck for a very long time. So I would love for you to post in the comments what your top 10 is. And let's go. Okay. So let's see what you guys have. Q Card says Lumme, Kessler, Olin, Henson, and okay, we got to go. Q Card, do all defensemen here. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So Monty says Bieksa, Lumme, Jovanovski, Hughes, and Olin. So we have the same guys, just different order. That's cool. And then Canuck Tony says Hughes, Jovo, Cop, Lumme, Reinhardt. Ooh, Reinhardt. Do you have a 5th, Canuck Tony? And then Personalized has Quinn Hughes, Jovo, Bieksa, Lumme, and whoa, we, like you said, we are almost pretty much identical there. Callum says Jovanovski, Salo, he's had a massive shot. Jyrki Lumme, Hughes, and Ohlund. Jeevan says Bieksa, Edler, and Tanev. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Tanev played for us that way, and we've been talking about all morning. Daniel says Hughes, Jovanovski, Lumme, Ohlund, Babbage. Yeah, Dave Babbage. Yeah, a lot of people love Dave Babbage, right? And then, lots of love for Salo here. That's cool. Sorry, my list was just for you. Yeah, no, all good. So start doing the goalie ones now, guys, and I'll do that in a second. Yeah, forgot about Salo. Acoin, yeah, Adrian Acoin was awesome too. I loved him. Lumme, Ohlund, Hughes, Tanev, Bieksa is cue cards. That's cool. Okay, so we're going to dive into favorite goalies, and then we're going to do the last one was fan favorites. Now, before you do goalies and fan favorites, remember, when it comes to fan favorites, don't do that yet, okay? But when it comes to that, you can't duplicate who's been in your other lists, okay? That is the premise on this. So not that I'm going to be able to police it really well. And you can do whatever you want. In all honesty, you can do whatever you want. But just to keep it fun, make it interesting, let's do that. So let's do the goalies. And so start posting your top 5 goalies in here. So you got Roberto Luongo's my number 1. I think that'll be on most people's number 1 list, most people. But I think some of these will be surprising to you. Number 2 is Kirk McLean, Captain Kirk. that's a tough one. I think Kirk and Luongo are both close. They're 1A, 1Bs, in my opinion. Loved that save he made against Calgary in the playoffs. Excuse me, where he stacked the pads across crease. That was amazing. And then, of course, my boy Thatcher Demko. Love watching him. I still think he's going to be amazing, absolutely amazing, everyone. So, yeah. So it's gonna be really great to see him continue to play. King Richard, what he did in 1982, just what he did for this team. There's a reason why they call him King Richard, because he not only had the King Richard name, but he was a great goaltender for us. And then my number 5 was hard. I really like Dan Cloutier. Okay, really like him. But here's the other thing. He won a lot of games. I think he got thrown under the bus for a lot of some of the tough goals he let in. But if we're honest, everyone, Luongo let us a lot of soft ones in too, and we don't talk about that enough. So, okay, we're going back to Dan Cloutier as my number 5. I wanted Markstrom there, but who do you guys have? Who do you girls have? I'm really interested in knowing. So, okay, so Personalized says Nashville signs. Okay, I don't care about that, but thank you for letting me know. Scott Edgewood is there on there. Okay. Top 5 favorite Canuck goalies: Luongo, McLean, Thatcher Demko, Dan Cloutier, Corey Hirsch. I like it. Okay. Callum says Reinhardt, Hamuse, Ballard, German guy, Keith Roger. Okay. Is that your defenseman? Okay. Cool. I'm going to stick with goalies here, everyone. Number 1 is Kirk McLean for Daniel. Demko, Luongo's 3rd. Wow. Okay. Schneider and Cloutier. Hey, man, might get some Cloutier love here. Canuck Tony says McLean, Demko, and Lou. I like it. Callum says Miller, Luongo, McLean, Potvin. Oh, nice. And Brodeur. Wondering if anyone's going to have Ryan Miller on their list. Jeevan says Demko, Luongo, McLean, Brodeur, and Sheelaws. Wow, Sheelaws makes his top 5. That's cool. Recency biased. Okay, let's see this one. Shannon says Luongo, Demko, Schneider, McLean, and Brodeur. Letting in 8 goals is a big. Let's see here. Let's see. Where did he have? Game 7, Tim Thomas got a shutout. They didn't lose the cup because of Luongo. It's true. It's true. You're right. Now, am I missing something here? Bob did it versus the Oilers, and they still won because they scored more goals. Okay. I agree. He has a bright future, and you got to respect Sheloves for sure. Sure. And Daniel says, I never completely forgave Luongo for his tough finale against the Boston Bruins. Why? It wasn't his fault, Dan. We didn't score. So Callum is going off the board, which does not surprise me. Eddie Lack, how can that be your number 1? But he can be. There's no wrong answer. Cloutier, Sheloves, Demko, and Urbe. Arturs Urbe. Yep. Ryan Miller. What about Braden Holtby? Nah, no, can't be. Okay. Let's go back to the last one here, everyone. Now, this one's been one that was really fun for me last night. These are my top 5 fan favorites that did not go on any other list. So you can do whatever you want there, but I would encourage you not to have someone you've already had. And here's my top 5. So please put in your top 5. Number 1 is Gino Ojek. These are Canucks that I really miss watching, playing on the team. Gino Ojek, number 1, hands down. Love Gino. And then the crowd chanting, Gino, Gino, Gino. I remember being in the stadium doing that. It was fun. Number 2 is, I know, no surprise to you guys and girls who are still here. Gino, Nikita Zadorov. I already miss him already, everyone. I'm sad he's gone. I knew that he wasn't coming back. But if he did, I would still have him as my number 2. And then, but I just wouldn't miss him anymore. I already miss him. Just saying. Number 3 is Alexander Mogilny. Lights out player, offensive juggernaut. Loved watching him play. And then number 4, I already missed Kuzmenko. I love how he's a great teammate. I love how he scored 39 goals. I love how, he was the big old Pepsi and I think it was bananas. And I just loved everything about Kuzmenko. Didn't like that he got healthy scratched all the time, but still, I wish he was on the team. I still think that would be great. But Donald Brashear is my number 5. Incredible fighter, incredible story. Love the race piece to it because he overcame a lot of odds to be in what would be traditionally a white man's sport, and I love that the diversity is changing. Gino Ojek is Indigenous as well, and so love the fact that other races are breaking into the NHL now. But just love the way that Brashear played. I'm going to do some videos later about top fighters, top 10 fighters for the Canucks history. Obviously, Gino and Brashear are going to be on that list of my top 10. So please post in the comments what you have there for your fan favorites. And oh wow, okay, Jeevan, don't miss Zadorov. He's a scumbag now. That's hilarious. Okay, Personalized says top 5 fan favorites. She loves Mogilny, Matt Cook, Niels Höglander, and Bruce Boudreau. Wow, brings in a coach there. That's awesome. That's awesome. Interesting list. I like that. That's what I like about this list. It can be all over the map, right? Canuck Tony says fan favorite Burrows, Brawbarian, Ojek, Pat Quinn. He played 2, but did he play for Vancouver? He might have. Actually, I think he did. And then Bruce, there it is. That's cool. So 2 coaches as well. Monty jumping in, saying Gino, Brashear, Burrows, Harold Sneps, and Bure. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, nice list. I agree. And Sneps, yeah, he's great. And then Callum says Cowan, Ronning, Tiger Williams. Right. Forgot about him. Gino and Stan Smeal, dude, Steamer. Nobody put him on their list yet, so that's cool. Daniel says Ojek, Kuzmenko, Burrows, She Loves, and Pat Quinn. I like it. Okay, and then you see the Canuck management. Big Hog is a fan favorite. Don't you dare trade our boy. Some people, yeah. So, I know that a lot of people would say Rick Rippon was one of the fan favorites as well. Rest in peace, Pat Quinn. Yeah. Jeevan says Daniel and Hendrick, Demko, Kessler, Pettersson. Those could be your fan favorites. That obviously they were in your other lists as well, but I put this one that I didn't duplicate. And Zadorov, Shannon's goes Zadorov, Kuzmenko, Ojek, She Loves, and Tiger Williams. And Monty says he forgot about Mark Messier. Mark Messier is one of your favorites? Interesting. All right, everyone. So here we are. I've made it through 3 hours. Actually, about 3 hours and 18 minutes. Just so thankful, everyone, that you took the time to come to the 3-hour stream. I want to thank my guests for being here. Thank you for being here. Most importantly, you. If you're not here, we're just talking to ourselves online, and appreciate each one of you. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe, please do. But everyone, hope you have a great Canada Day. It was definitely a different Canada Day, but it is what it is. It wasn't a fail, but it was definitely surprising. My friend Carl that I went to Game 5 with said, I'm trying to prepare myself for some disappointment. And I think there's a lot of fans disappointed today, but I think this team is not done yet, like Joe said. And we can still cheer this team on. The core is strong, and I'm looking forward to what happens in the future. So have a good day, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. You guys and girls are awesome. Have an awesome day. Peace. Go Canucks go.